not in the form of the temper tantrum politics that are played by those individuals. And of course, he was referencing in part, like, and he set them up brilliantly on a number of occasions with the people that the Democrats would not stand for. They basically stood and applauded. And, this is an overdrawn thing. I don't usually like it because it just extends the speech for 50% longer than it needs to be with all of the performative and pro forma applause lines, and then one party or occasionally both parties get up to do their train seal routine. But the way that Trump used it as a political device yesterday, I thought was really good because it provided a framing, a visual framing of what the parties believe, where the divides are. You won't stand to pass Delilah's law so illegal immigrants can't get CDL licenses. You won't stand for a little 5-year-old Delilah who made, by all accounts, a miraculous recovery after being involved in an accident where her car was rammed by an illegal alien illicitly with an illicit CDL that crashed into her. And she's doing well, and she's there with her dad, and we're going to pass this law so that we don't have more incidents, or we can at least minimize as opposed to turn a blind eye to incidents like what happened, the injuries that Delilah suffered. You can't stand for that. You can't stand for this statement.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
And you saw Trump brilliantly sort of looking at who was standing and who wasn't. That was obvious. And then, sort of waving his hand like voila, waving his hand, looking over to the Democrats that were sitting on their hands and just shaking his head and doing it again to illustrate the point. I mean, that is not a controversial statement that the first duty of any government is to provide for the physical security of its actual citizens, its actual constituents. That is a wildly controversial statement, and it speaks to the actual position of that entire party, which is open borders, abolish ICE. The actual position of that party writ large is disclosed by the most extreme people in it, the people that are comfortable saying abolish ICE and open the borders and no person can be illegal. Not everybody in their caucus will say it, but everybody has signed on to that position. And so you can appreciate that, as Trump said, the only thing standing in the way of those people and reopening the borders and reimposing this parade of horribles on the country is me and Republicans in Congress. So you may want to factor that in as you make your decision over the course of the next 9 months about who should be in charge in the House and the Senate. 312-642-5600 to give us a call or text. Bob in Buffalo Grove. We saw Bob the engineer in Buffalo Grove last night.
Great talking to you last night, Dan, and you took away my talking point. And seeing Trump in his reaction, his facial expressions when he was just looking at the Democrats was priceless. I'm just hoping that incident or that feedback will be played on a loop in commercials over and over again.
Yeah, thanks for the call, because thanks for the call, Bob. It has wide application. It's with respect to immigration law enforcement and border security. It's with respect to trans. It's with respect to tax relief. It's sort of these people don't just disagree with you; they are not of sound mind. Craig in Mount Greenwood.
Dan, you're exactly right. That was an epic reveal that Trump, right from the beginning, he's been revealing all kinds of things about our government, about people and stuff like that. Just constantly, right from the beginning. But this here, real personally and real, like basically kind of like pointing the finger without pointing the finger, just using his eyeballs and everything, and basically exposing specifically what they're doing, how they think, how they operate, and what a menace they are to our country. It was beautiful.
Thanks for the call, Craig. Joe in Naperville.
Yeah, the chutzpah of Ilmar Omar to be swearing at the president at a State of the Union address. When we took her in, she'd be turning tricks in Somalia or be some little bride somewhere with her labia cut off if it wasn't for Trump and if it wasn't for the United States. And she's going to sit there and swear at the president during one of our most fundamental passages with the State of the Union was pathetic.
Okay, thanks for the call, Joe. Quite graphic. Jim in LaGrange.
My favorite moment, Dan, was when he hit that black and white tipping point when he said, please stand if you're for American citizens and you're against illegal aliens. And the Democrats stood up. I couldn't believe it. He just made it so simple to show it graphically. And actually, Trump was also at his best last night when he took some pregnant pauses and was just quiet for about 10 seconds. It was masterful to see everything going on around him. Thanks, Dan. Have a good day.
Thanks, Jim. You know, it's funny. I mentioned this. I was sitting next to Sean, and I said when he was allowing for extended applause, you think, okay, it'll die down now. But he was sort of step back, indicating he wanted more. It was sort of like when you watch Family Guy, and they uncomfortably extend a bit for the purposes of sort of adding to the humor of it. They just squeeze every ounce of it, and when you think it's about to end, they just continue on with the bit they're doing. That was a little bit of what he did yesterday. I thought it was effective as well. I mean, the whole standing and sitting thing, though, boy, I mean, the only time the left stood, if they stood for the insider trading thing, as I was starting to mention before I sidetracked myself, they stood for, some of them stood for Team USA Hockey, some. Not all, but it was the insider trading thing. It was the Purple Hearts confer to the two National Guardsmen, one posthumously. It was the Medals of Honor conferred to the Chief Warrant Officer as part of the Maduro invasion and this great fighter pilot, 220 missions in Korea and Vietnam, Royce Williams. And we'll get to those. And then the only other time I think they stood was when the men in the caucus had to get up to use the ladies' room, the men in their caucus. I think that's the only other time I saw them stand. Coming up, we'll have more reviews, take more of your calls, 312-642-5600 on Chicago's Morning Answer.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer. AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning. It is 29 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. We'll see sunny skies today with highs topping out around 33 today. The Indiana House of Representatives have passed legislation to establish a Northwest Indiana Stadium Authority for the Chicago Bears. Indiana Senate Bill 27 was approved by a vote of 95-4 on Tuesday. The measure calls for food and beverage taxes in Lake and Porter counties and a hotel tax in Lake County. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker said that he thinks his state will still see progress with a Bears pilot plan. Police say a person of interest is in custody in the case of an Uber Eats driver that was killed early Monday morning. Officials say 28-year-old Daniel Figueroa was delivering food to the staff at Laredo Hospital when he was killed. And at least one person has been injured after a car crashed into a home on the city's west side. Police say the front steps of the home were destroyed. No word on what caused the accident. News is a service of Audible. It's time to take care of you, and who better to help you than the top voices in well-being on Audible? Kickstart your well-being journey with your first audiobook free when you sign up for a 30-day trial at audible.com/wellbeing. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next.
The Verge.
All of the bulletins coming from Israel are that they've gone into their defensive crouch. They've alerted everyone to be ready for conflict. We've got the biggest mass forces that we've had anywhere in the world since prior to the Iraq invasion in 2003. And it doesn't look like Iran wants to actually capitulate on the things it needs to capitulate on.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Alex Marlowe at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Let me share Brian's story. He's in Alabama, and he wrote in, he said, Glenn, after taking Relief Factor for just 3 weeks, at least 90% of my pain is gone. My pain had started to limit me at work and at home, and I am amazed at the relief that I have gotten. Those are Brian's own words, and they speak volumes about what Relief Factor can do. And I've seen that kind of transformation in myself, and hearing Brian's experience reinforces why I take endorsing Relief Factor so seriously. Before I started taking Relief Factor myself, I was losing hope that I could ever have a normal life again. My hands were in so much pain. It's created by doctors, a 100% drug-free product using 4 key ingredients. It supports the body's natural inflammatory response. Hundreds of thousands of people have ordered Relief Factor, and like Brian and me, over 2/3 of these people go on to order more month after month. So don't wait. If you're dealing with pain, launch your 3-week quick start and see what Relief Factor can do for you. Call 800-4RELIEF or go to relieffactor.com. Don't wait anymore. Feel what it's like to be out of pain. 1-800-4RELIEF.
If you're near retirement or thinking about retiring, you probably have a lot of questions. How do you make your savings last? How much should you take out and when? You're ready for retirement, but are your finances? I'm Edward Jones financial advisor, Nolan Webster. Let's work together to make sure your finances meet your unique needs over the long haul. You've done what it takes to get there. Now it's time to make the most of retirement. Call me at 224-801-6107 to schedule an appointment. That's 224-801-6107. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and newnordicusa.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be mostly sunny with breezy conditions in the afternoon, reaching a high of 37. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 23. Tomorrow will bring intervals of clouds and sunshine with a high of 44. Looking ahead to Friday, anticipate partly sunny skies and breezy conditions with a high of 60. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is sponsored by Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman. Listen Saturday mornings at 8. Learn more at willsave.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here talking about President Trump's State of the Union address and getting your reactions, whether you thought it was an effective framing and launching of the messaging that is going to drive Trump and Republicans forward into the meat of the midterm elections. Take your calls, 312-642-5600 if you want to give us a call or a text. And again, it was interesting how it started when you saw Democrats would neither stand to oppose illegal immigration or, importantly, stand to support something else Trump said in the next breath, which is support for legal immigration, doing it the right way. So if you don't support eliminating illegal immigration and you don't support supporting legal immigration, then what is it exactly you're saying? I mean, it couldn't be more clear. Right? What you're saying is that we want lawlessness. It's the rulers that matter, not the rules. The rulers are more important than the rules. And so however we need to behave, whatever we need to do to become the rulers, that's what we're going to do. It has nothing to do with any bright line rules of how a free society should be governed. That's unmistakable. And frankly, it was driven home in the response to President Trump's State of the Union address. Again, neo-Marxists tapped moderate, which has become a punchline, like mostly peaceful. There's no such thing as a moderate neo-Marxist. And that's the party. I'm sorry, that is the party. Even John Fetterman, he perhaps needs to reflect further on his party affiliation. Although, again, I mean, his fits of common sense are tempered by all sorts of positions that he still takes and has previously taken that are completely at odds with the idea of free minds, free markets, and a free society. So even him, he's just had more fits of common sense than the rest of his mates. But Abigail Spanberger, the newly minted governor of Virginia, was selected to offer the response. And this is how she responded effectively to what Trump had to say, peppered throughout his remarks on border security and immigration.
And yet, our president has sent poorly trained federal agents into our cities, where they have arrested and detained American citizens and people who aspire to be Americans. And they have done it without a warrant. They have ripped nursing mothers away from their babies. They have sent children, a little boy in a blue bunny hat, children to far-off detention centers. And they have killed American citizens in our streets. And they have done it all with their faces masked from accountability. Every minute spent sowing fear is a minute not spent investigating murders, crimes against children, or the criminals defrauding seniors of their life savings. Our president told us tonight that we are safer because these agents arrest mothers and detain children. Think about that. Our broken immigration system is something to be fixed, not an excuse for unaccountable agents to terrorize our communities.
And so that was one thing he really didn't do that I wish he had done, was straight away address the running vilification, demonization, distortions associated with the left's characterization of federal law enforcement, and put it right between their eyes on that, just like he did on so many other issues. These are you have members of Congress wearing F-ICE buttons. I wish he would have made some sort of statement in defense of ICE and CBP and border security and said that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And the lengths that they will go to, again, framing the choice for the American electorate, the lengths they will go to stop funding the salaries of Secret Service agents or FEMA employees against the backdrop of a ecological disaster in the Potomac, a severe snowstorm on the eastern seaboard, the orderly processing of travelers through our nation's airports, the lengths they will go to appease the base of their party, which demands a suspension of federal enforcement of immigration laws. A little bit more time on that. The storytelling was very good. As I said, the use of people in the gallery was about as good as I can remember it since Reagan broke the seal with Lenny Skutnik. I mentioned there. It's a great trivia question. Lenny Skutnik, the first member of a gallery, sort of ordinary American that was used by President Trump, because Lenny Skutnik had dove into the Potomac and saved a woman who was otherwise going to drown when Air Florida flight crashed. And so he was properly hailed as a hero by Ronald Reagan, and that sort of stuck as something that presidents have used ever since as part of the theater of their state of the Union speech. I don't know that anybody did it better or more often, frankly, than Trump did last night, which is not to say it's illegitimate. I mean, the way that people gain an understanding of complicated issues, or at least the main thrust of complicated issues, is through storytelling. And those stories, especially when there's an emotional quotient, and there was in almost every one of them, both in terms of a celebration and commiseration, was powerful. Even Red Diaper Baby and professional liar David Axelrod had to concede that point.
He used the gallery very skillfully to kind of simulate empathy, which is a thing that he's been lacking, and that's sort of a surrogate for that. The question is, he started off the speech by saying, this is the turnaround for the ages. Right. And as you know, because you're traveling around the country, people don't think the direction is right. And I don't think this cured that. So we'll see. But I don't think a lot of the people who needed to be persuaded probably were watching this speech.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. The whole simulated empathy. I think President Trump has empathy. He's just not, he's not a weenie about it. He's not it's not the overwrought sentimental barbarian that you see from the left, like you just heard, frankly, from Abigail Spanberger talking about immigration. By the way, just as an aside, with respect to the alternative programming conducted by some 6 neo-Marxist members of Congress who boycotted the State of the Union speech. They'll show him and the rest of us how irrelevant they are is what they'll show him. I just got to draw attention to this. Maxine Dexter. You've heard her name on this show before, and I'll remind you why. It's not because she has dizzied us with her intellect, that's for sure. She is a medical doctor. She was with the Portland Frogs. I guess this is a remnant of the No Kings theatrics. This was her part of one of the alternative programming events of, in contrast to the State of the Union.
I'm a mother. I am a physician, and I have a flag. And I am the proud representative for Oregon's 3rd Congressional District. Yes, thank you. Thank you. And tonight, I defy Trump and his authoritarian project by standing in joyful, radical, peaceful resistance with the Portland Frog Brigade.
Brigade's a good word. The Portland Frog Brigade. Maxine Dexter is a pulmonologist. Could you imagine? You remember Maxine Dexter from incidents like this at the American Federation of Government Employees rally back in those heady days of Doge when Jan Schakowsky was leading a bunch of 60s refugees with folksy protest songs. This was Maxine Dexter, the good doctor.
I've been told I have 30 seconds, so I am going to tell you that we do have to, I don't swear in public very well, but we have to Trump. Please don't tell my children that I just did that.
Or your husband. We have to F Trump. I don't think you ordered those words in the way that you intended, but okay, doctor. This is more Dr. Maxine Dexter. It doesn't matter what your accomplishments are. It doesn't matter what your talents are in a particular professional pursuit. Once you give in to this neo-Marxist ideology, I mean, your brainstem immediately starts to dissolve.
Please ask for the science-based regimens, not whatever RFK Jr. is getting kickbacks on, or whatever whole milk, white supremacy, dog whistling that's happening right now. I'm getting a little too political, but
she's criticizing MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, and she suggested that pushing whole milk is a white supremacist dog whistle. Why the milk got to be white? And this was when Bill Melugin, Fox News, caught up to Maxine Dexter on the Hill to question her characterization of a law enforcement involved shooting in Portland, because she rushed to judgment suggesting that the shooting was not legitimate, when in point of fact.
Congresswoman, Bill Melugin with Fox News. Quick question. Why didn't you wait for any facts to come out on the Portland Border Patrol shooting before you put your statement out?
I did not make a statement about the...
You did. It's on Twitter.
No, I made a statement. I did not say anything about whether or not those folks were rightfully having...
You said ISIS terrorizing the community. It wasn't ISIS, it was Border Patrol, and you said
My question for you is, did they follow due process? And the answer is no. Those folks were shot before they had...
Those folks were two Venezuelan gang members who both local police
Allegedly.
and DH...
Allegedly.
Local police in Portland say they were.
I met with the police chief, and it is not that clear. So alleged is not due process.
So do you consider those alleged Tren de Aragua gang members to be your neighbors? You said we got to show up for our neighbors.
We have to show up for our community, and our community is feeling terrorized right now. They are outraged that people are being shot without having any detainment or due process in the court of law.
Did you see the photos DOJ put out of the Ram Border Patrol vehicle, almost totaled?
I have seen photos, sir, and I have nothing to say about these two people and whether or not they have criminal history or other things to be detained. That is not the issue. The issue is that we are not following due process. Our law enforcement should be accountable to the law.
Last question, we'll let you go. You called for an end to all immigration operations in Portland, all ICE operations. Do you still stand by that, given the fact that these do appear to be criminal, illegal alien gang members?
Again, sir, alleged is not being prosecuted in the court of law and having a jury find that that's true. If they have immigration violations, that will be dealt with by an immigration judge. I stand by ICE needing to be accountable to the law, and enforcement needs to be ceased until we can guarantee that there is accountability to the law. Thank you.
So that's Maxine Dexter hanging out with the Portland Frog Brigade. Just in terms of making an assessment of your choices. You want to stand with Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and Maxine Dexter and these people.
If nobody stands up, these people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
George, Naperville.
Yeah, that alternative program by the Democrats reminded me when you wake up early when I was a kid on a Sunday and you look at the TV and they'd have the strange things that weren't like top-notch cartoons. You didn't know what it was, but yeah, it was out there and goofy.
Yeah, I mean, like the Giggle Snort Hotel. What are we talking?
Room, zoom, zoom, gilly, 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 sa, 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 sa.
Interesting. Not familiar with that. Thanks for the call, George. I have to look that up. On a related topic, because Trump did mention political violence, something else I wish he would have delved into a little bit more, although the speech didn't need to go on for 3 hours either. But he mentioned political violence. There's never a reason for political violence, and essentially both sides of the chamber stood up and gave the customary applause that a line like that would elicit. But I wish he would have delved into the argument a little bit deeper, reminding people that, 2 attempts on my life, and we just had another attempted incursion in Mar-a-Lago, all inspired by the demonization of me and my supporters as the Third Reich. It's enough. Why don't you knock it off and grow up? You want to disagree with me on the enforcement of immigration law or on tax relief or on taking out cartel drug boats, then go ahead and disagree with me. But, I mean, get a grip, will you? Because this is going to boomerang on you. You think you can light this fire and it is not going to come around and singe you, and it's going to. I wish there would have been a little bit more of that, because there's another incident too, especially, again, if he would have offered a little bit more commentary on immigration law enforcement. A story that we brought to you on Monday happened over the weekend. It was dwarfed by the Secret Service shooting at Mar-a-Lago. But they have an arrest now. They have a person in custody. They've made an arrest. Meridian, Idaho. This portly, awful 43-year-old honky who staged gas cans, stole an ambulance, and was arrested and accused, charged with attempting to carry out an arson terror attack on a DHS and ICE office in Idaho. Here's the Meridian, Idaho police chief.
As most of you know, late Wednesday, February 18th, 2026, Canyon County paramedics had an ambulance stolen from St. Luke's Meridian. The suspect took that ambulance and drove it into the Portico North building, where they had also staged cans of gasoline and poured gasoline inside of the ambulance as well as on the floor outside of the ambulance in what we believe was an attempt to burn the building. Well, today I'm glad to announce that we have made an arrest of Sarah Elizabeth George, a 43-year-old female of Boise, Idaho. The Meridian Police Department, along with the local Federal Bureau of Investigation, the local Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, served an arrest warrant on George and executed a search warrant at George's residence earlier this evening. Agents and detectives are currently processing the scene at the residence now, collecting evidence. These investigators standing here are responsible for this timely arrest. And the first thing I would like to point out is the men and women of the Meridian Police Department and the men and women of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and the FBI did an amazing job over the last 5 days, working long hours, working diligently to positively identify Miss George and bring her into custody. Really, it was good old-fashioned police work that got us to where we were at tonight. These investigators literally went door to door looking for possible camera footage, possible witnesses, and other information and evidence stemming from I-84 to Fairview, from Locust Grove to Cloverdale.
So when they stood up and gave that performative applause to the line that political violence is never justified, Trump should have paused, in my view. Sit down. You on this side, sit down. And ultimately, at some point, they would have. You're lying. You're lying to the American public. Most of you won't say it out loud, but you turn a blind eye and you attach no consequences to the targeting you do of law enforcement, of political opponents generally. No, not one of you will make a statement about what happened in Meridian, Idaho. Not one of you invokes the sniper attack on federal law enforcement agents in Dallas, where migrants were killed. Just like not one of you will stand up in support of Delilah's Law to prevent illegal immigrants who from illicitly getting CDLs and killing people or nearly killing them on America's roadways. So just stop pretending. Stop pretending like you care that I was almost assassinated in Butler, Pennsylvania. There was another attempt made on my life in West Palm. And there was another attack that was thwarted by Secret Service, Mar-a-Lago, over the weekend. Planned attack, just like this planned attack in Meridian, Idaho. Stop pretending that that's not your position. It is your position. And it may have thrown the chamber up for grabs, but who cares? This, to me, is so central. When you have one party that says violence is the legitimate means to political ends, which some of them say explicitly, others acquiesce to tacitly, you have a huge problem that transcends tax cuts and sort of other ancillary issues. They want to talk about the throwing out the old rules and all their talk about retribution and so on and so forth. Another topic that he didn't talk about was lawfare and that piece of it. This is a party that is completely at odds with the rule of law, generally speaking, not limited to immigration. And the American people, the American people, have to understand this. Tim in Woodstock, on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi, good morning, Dan. What I wanted to say, and I didn't get a chance to watch the speech, but I wish he would have done the same thing that he did with immigration with the transitioning of minors.
He did. He did.
What's that?
Sage Blair. Sage Blair. He used Sage Blair. She was in the gallery to frame that issue and call for a ban on the transing of kids. He did do it.
Oh, nice.
Thanks for the call, Tim. That was one of those moments where the Dems were sitting on their hands and like, what, these people are crazy. Exactly. Chris, Lake County.
Morning, Dan. Hey, all the examples that you mentioned were spot on, but it even goes down to the simple stuff like a couple summers ago pouring water on New York cops' heads, now throwing snowballs and calling it a snowball fight when it was chunks of ice, to the whipping, the Border Patrol whipping, illegal aliens crossing the border. All those things are dog whistles, and I'd like to steal that term back because everything they're doing is a dog whistle to attack law enforcement and the rule of law.
Thanks for the call, Chris. Appreciate it. Coming up at 6:06, we'll continue the conversation. We have much more to get through, including the affordability issue that Trump was on offense on last night as well. I think he did a pretty effective job on that topic as well. Get to take more of your calls as well. It's now 6 o'clock at AM 560 WIND Chicago.
This is a Fox News alert, a record State of the Union. I'm Dave Anthony. Almost 1 hour, 48 minutes.
You've seen nothing yet. We're going to do better and better and better. This is the golden age of America.
President Trump calling the State of our Union strong.
Today, our border is secure. Our spirit is restored. Inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising fast.
And with some Supreme Court justices seated in front of him, the president called their ruling last week, striking down most of his tariffs unfortunate. Then he said his new ones are even stronger, claiming
congressional action will not be necessary. It's already time-tested and approved.
The president also touted his immigration crackdown, removing criminals here illegally, though some Democrats shouted back at him as he promised to crack down on sanctuary cities
that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens, in many cases drug lords, murderers all over our country.
More than 70 Democrats didn't even show up, boycotting the Trump speech. Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger delivered the formal Democratic response, saying he lied, scapegoated, and distracted.
Is the president working to make life more affordable for you and your family? We all know the answer is no.
President Trump also brought up Iran ahead of another round of indirect talks between the U.S. and Iran tomorrow as he threatens military action again if they don't agree to a nuclear deal.
I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen.
Well, there was a lot of applause for special guests honored by the president last night as well. And this got maybe the biggest cheer.
The men's gold medal Olympic hockey team. Come on in.
And that led to a USA, USA chant as the players wearing their gold medals appeared. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 29 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. The Indiana House of Representatives passed a bill on Tuesday that paves the path for the Chicago Bears to leave Illinois. Indiana Governor Mike Braun tells Fox's America Reports why he thinks the Bears should move to Indiana.
We're an easy state when it comes to regulations, reasonable taxation, but we are open for business, and we're just taking advantage of the fact that Illinois has not been accommodating.
A Chicago woman has been sentenced to 24 months of second chance probation in order to pay more than $20,000 in restitution for fraudulently applying for a loan and loan forgiveness through the Paycheck Protection Program during the COVID-19 pandemic. 34-year-old Rachel Jordan was sentenced after pleading guilty to a Class 2 felony charge of loan fraud. If Jordan does not pay the full restitution by the end of her probation, she could face jail time. A Chicago man is facing aggravated firearm charges after an alleged road rage shooting on the Kennedy Expressway. Police say 52-year-old Rene Garica fired a weapon at another vehicle and struck a 14-year-old passenger on I-90 near Ogden Avenue last Wednesday. The victim was hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries. And a Venezuelan migrant is being charged with first-degree murder in connection with the stabbing death of a church volunteer who reportedly tried to help him as he struggled with homelessness. CWB Chicago reports that 49-year-old Carlos Ochoa Inega fled to California after he allegedly killed 34-year-old Juan Quiroz last September. Ochoa Inega was brought back to Chicago this month to face those charges. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you can save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Larry Elder explains how prices come down.
GDP growth last quarter, 4.4%, 4.3%. People's incomes are rising faster than inflation. Everything is driven by gas prices. Everything has to be transported. So when people are paying far less now for gas than they were 5 years ago, it is a huge, huge boost to the wallet. And I think Trump deserves a lot of praise for this.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you 65 or older and dealing with chronic knee or shoulder pain? You're not alone. At the Joint Relief Institute, we've helped thousands find real relief without surgery. Our non-surgical, FDA-approved treatment uses hyaluronic gel that acts like a cushion between the bones in your knee. As we age, the cushion naturally wears down, causing painful grinding and popping. But our gel restores that cushion, allowing your knee to move smoothly again. Ready to stop the pain and get back to doing what you love? Call the Joint Relief Institute at 708-315-6800. Again, that's 708-315-6800.
Move better, live better with JRI.
Move better and live better with JRI. Contact the Joint Relief Institute today and get back to doing what you love. Call 708-315-6800 or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. Call 708-315-6800. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted. Reclaim your mobility with the Joint Relief Institute.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hackberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. We are solid already on the northbound side of Lakeshore Drive between Bryn Mawr Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. Just a stop-and-go ride, but still in great shape this morning on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose, just 14 minutes, 18 in, 22 out on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange, 13 minutes both ways on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the old post office. You've got 24 minutes inbound on the Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore, 22 on the reverse first side. 14 in, 11 out on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange. A little bit sluggish inbound on the express lanes from 33rd Street to the Stevenson, and the Bishop Ford inbound slows down from the Stony Island feeder to the Dan Ryan. This report is the service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mostly sunny with breezy conditions in the afternoon, reaching a high of 37. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 23. Tomorrow will bring intervals of clouds and sunshine with a high of 44. Looking ahead to Friday, anticipate partly sunny skies and breezy conditions with a high of 60. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, talking about Trump's State of the Union address and getting your reaction to what you liked, what you didn't, what he shouldn't have included, what he failed to include, and the larger question of whether or not he did an effective job at framing the terms of debate over the next 8.5 months leading into the midterm elections. 312-642-5600. To give us a call or a text. Before we get to the affordability thing, which he did address in pertinent part, and he went right after the Democrats, which he did on a number of issues, that immigration, trans, insider trading, number of issues, good. And I told you the insider trading thing would come up because per that Mark Halperin memo about the meeting that the Trump team had with their pollster, Tony Fabrizio, that was one of the things that popped. And so you knew it was going to be included. If there was any doubt that this was framing for the nature of discourse, the terms of engagement for the midterms that should disabuse you. Before we get to that, though, one of the things that he left out, in my view, that lawfare piece, the larger sort of call to the principles of living in a free, peacefully pluralistic society, and the threat the left poses. He did as good a job as you can do, being the president and the party in power, at flipping the script and making their craziness the referendum question. Now, that's going to have to be sustained over the next 8.5 months, but he did a good job of setting the table, as effective as I think he could have. But there are pieces of it that I think need to be developed more. Could have been developed more yesterday, but there's still plenty of time to develop them. One is, I mentioned, a deeper dive into the use of political violence by the left. A more robust and textured defense of federal law enforcement. And the lawfare piece. Because there were some developments just over the last week that are important to remind people about how the left operates. They will use the machinery of the state to weaponize elements of the private economy, in addition to the powerful spy and law enforcement agencies, to weaponize parts of the private economy against ordinary Americans. And it was an opportunity for him to restate. Remember, I've been saying this for 10 years, and it just continues to be more true with each passing day and disclosure. They're not coming for me. They're coming for you, and I'm standing in their way. On Friday, the CIA retracted 19 what they call politicized intel reports. This is, of course, John Ratcliffe First, there were the parents flagged at school board meetings, potential domestic terrorists. God forbid you disagree with a superintendent or a school board member. Then it was Catholics who preferred the traditional Latin Mass targeted for scrutiny. And it was more than just the Richmond office, as we have since learned. The CIA announced Friday it was retracting or revising 19 different intel reports dating from 2015 to 2023. Many of them focused on DEI-related issues, including pronouncements by the CIA about white women, motherhood, violent extremism, LGBTQIA2S+++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++ others well beyond the scope of the agency's mission. Ratcliffe saying, the intelligence products we released to the American people today, produced before his tenure, fall short of the high standards of impartiality the CIA must uphold and do not reflect the expertise for which our analysts are renowned. There's absolutely no room for bias in our work, and when we identify instances where analytical rigor has been compromised, we have a responsibility to correct the record. 17 of the 19 analytical reports have been permanently deleted, no longer available for spy agencies to use in their work. 2 were recalled and revised and then re-released. And I mean, it's the full complement, and Trump talked about it yesterday, DEI. It's full complement of DEI and basically just leftist cultural politics that was polished up and presented as an intel report by the CIA. And then there are new emails that speak to the lies that were told about the Biden White House and the raid on Mar-a-Lago. Fox News reporting.
These emails obtained by Fox News paint a different picture of the relationship between the Biden White House and the Biden Justice Department. These two offices made it clear at the time, at least publicly, they were not connected and stayed away from any political interference. However, new emails obtained by Fox News from May 2022, 3 months before Mar-a-Lago was raided by the FBI, illustrates coordination between the White House counsel's office and the DOJ regarding an interview of Walt Nauta. Now, remember, Walt Nauta is a current White House aide to President Trump, who was then former President Trump's aide in Florida. Nauta was later charged alongside Trump by special counsel Jack Smith. The May 10th, 2022 email reads in part, coordination with DOJ and White House counsel are in work to start the process to confirm and interview current administration employee Walt Nauta. This event is dependent upon the timeline of President Biden's brief decision and coordination between White House counsel and DOJ, and in turn, Evan Corcoran's position on the override of privilege assertion and whether or not he seeks an injunction to prevent access. That was written by an FBI agent, and Evan Corcoran, of course, one of Trump's lawyers at the time. This coming August, Brett, will mark 4 years since FBI agents raided Mar-a-Lago. A few days after that, then Attorney General Merrick Garland said this.
I personally approved the decision to seek a search warrant in this matter. Second, the department does not take such a decision lightly.
Right. So what you had is a coordination that they suggested was not happening between the White House counsel's office and the DOJ. So that's being done at the direction of Biden or whoever was acting as the president of the United States on that topic. Another lie that's told. And as I said, weaponizing the private economy, too. You know, Trump has a $5 billion lawsuit against J.P. Morgan for closing his accounts after Jan 6. $5 billion lawsuit. J.P. Morgan Chase has admitted that it did, in fact, close Trump's bank accounts following the Jan 6 breach of the U.S. Capitol. The letter addressed to a representative of the Trump Corporation. J.P. Morgan Chase has decided to close its banking relationship with the Trump Corporation and its affiliated entities. So the point of those updates and developments is to say this is who that other side is again. You have disagreements with me. I mean, I know this isn't the way Trump speaks, but essentially this is what needs to be conveyed. You have some policy disagreements with me. I can understand and I can appreciate that, but you have to at least appreciate that the positions I've taken and what I said I would do is exactly what I have done or attempted to do. Where we have disagreements, we have disagreements. But with the other side, taking into account the other side, there is such a fundamental disagreement, there is no common ground that can be forged. It can be forged on particular issues in a transactional way, but they fundamentally are revolting against the American Revolution. This common sense counter-revolution I've instigated is in response to this neo-Marxist revolution they're trying to effect. I'm not going to use that terminology, but the point is they don't believe in the underlying tenets of living in a peaceful, pluralistic society. They believe in force. They believe in violence. They believe in silence when it comes to their opponents. This is a party of intolerance and, frankly, death. Because it wasn't like he was mincing words on a range of other topics. Now getting to that affordability question that's so top of mind.
Every single one of them voted against these really important and very necessary massive tax cuts. They wanted large-scale tax increases to hurt the people instead. But we held strong, and with the great, big, beautiful bill, we gave you no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors.
And, of course, he had a guest in the gallery to illustrate the point. Meet Megyn.
Very heavy equipment. Megyn is here this evening, and she's happy to tell you that she is so much richer because with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and our expanded child tax credit done again by Republicans, Megyn and her husband will take home more than $5,000 extra just for the year, cutting her tax bill in more than half. Megyn, please stand up. We're fighting for you, Megyn. Thank you, Megyn. We're fighting for you, Megyn. Under our bill, parents like Megyn can also activate their children's brand new Trump accounts. And
he didn't come up with that name, right? I know. But here's the bottom line. What he was doing there with drawing the line between those who supported the BBB and those who did not, using Megyn as a case study, he's putting it right on them, and he said so explicitly. This affordability crisis you speak of, it's a crisis of their making and my addressing.
Same people in this chamber who voted for those disasters suddenly used the word affordability, a word they just used it. Somebody gave it to them, knowing full well that they caused and created the increased prices that all of our citizens had to endure. You caused that problem. You caused that problem. They knew their statements were a lie. They knew it. They knew their statements were a dirty, rotten lie. Their policies created the high prices. Our policies are rapidly ending them. We are doing really well. Those prices are plummeting downward.
Those dirty, rotten scoundrels, excuse my Steve Martin, Michael Caine reference. Those dirty, rotten scoundrels, you right there, you, I'm talking to you. I love that. I love when he was chiding them and shaming them and daring them, baiting them to step up and throw the chamber into a melee as Omar and Tlaib took the bait. Most of them were smart enough not to. Some can't help themselves. But I love going right at them like that. brilliant. 312-642-5600 to give us a call or a text. And on Obamacare, you did that. I'm talking to you again.
I'm also confronting one of the biggest ripoffs of our times, the crushing costs of health care caused by you. Since the passage of the Unaffordable Care Act, sometimes referred to as Obamacare, big insurance companies have gotten rich. It was
You did that because you're in the pocket of the big insurance companies. Good stuff. That was good. Not just what he had to say, but the way he said it. Strip away the pieties and the disingenuous civility protocols. Verlon, Michigan, you're on Chicago's Morning.
My question was, do you think that he addressed the affordability issue enough? Because all I hear is it's so expensive to go grocery shopping. It's so expensive to go grocery shopping. Now, I'm old enough to remember that just 4 years ago, and about all that 4 years, eggs were $10.50. I was just at the grocery store. Eggs were $1.96. Chicken wings under Joe Biden was $13. It was $6.50. I was just at the store. I remember you all talking about cereal was about $9 and $10, $4.50 at the grocery store just the other day. Cooking oil was $9 for the small bottle, $4.55 at the grocery store the other day. He talked about gas being up. Now I don't know what it was, where the $6 was, what he was talking about, but I know in Chicago on the south side it was $4.63, and if you stayed downtown, it might have been $5.30. Around my house right now is $2.78 a gallon. So if I can see this, and I'm the average ordinary citizen, why can't other people see that it's 10 times more affordable now than it was under Joe Biden?
Thanks for the call, Verlon. I think the $6 a gallon gas he was referring to was in California, which, of course, has adopted basically the same energy policy and tax and regulatory regime as Germany, and to the same ends. But, yeah, I hear you. And I think, again, Kevin Hassett and others, the Trump administration, have addressed this in part to say, which is we're making progress. There was a loss of purchasing power of $3,500. And we've gotten about half that back according to our estimates. We have a ways to go. We've slowed down inflation, but that doesn't mean you're going to see a snapback to pre-Biden prices on some of these things. As you said, there have been prices that have come down. I mean, and it's not just about government policy. It's also supply and demand. It depends on the product. It's just complicated. This is not a one-size-fits-all, wave a wand, and these prices of all these disparate products and services move around at the whims of politicians. That's just not how it works, too, which would always be nice for some politicians to say. They present like they have more power over the economic machinations of 350 million people in this country than they actually do. But and look, and the tariffs have imposed an additional cost that have passed on to consumers in this country, whether you want to believe it or not. There may be, net positive in terms of reducing trade barriers and reanimating particular sectors and industries within those sectors and so forth. I get all the arguments. I'm just saying, though, that's how taxes work. So that has perhaps mitigated some of the return of purchasing power. But the bottom line is you're seeing the tax relief that he mentioned in detail, how that impacts a middle to upper middle income family like Megan's there, 2-income family. And, so I think even though it's his penchant to overstate the case, it's always good to address these things with a little humility, because different people are differently situated, and there are people that are struggling that feel like they're running in place or maybe even falling behind. And you want to address those people and not just pretend like what they're seeing or feeling is not what they're seeing or feeling. Don't believe your lying eyes. Don't believe your lying checkbook balances. You have to address that and say, here are the things that we're doing, and it's going to make a positive impact across the board. But and it can't happen fast enough in my view, but these things take time. It's a big, diverse country, and these policies are productive because they align government with the interests of the productive citizen, but they still take time for you to feel the full effect. So just stick with me here, knowing that the impact of these policies is going to be positive, because every time you return money to the people who made it, it's beneficial to them. This is not complicated. Every time you relax regulations on an industrious people, then you grow the economy. So just, hang on. Good times are returning. For many people, they've, returned in substantial fashion. For others, they're coming. So just stick with me. Because what we know is what they're proposing will put you right back in the poorhouse. You want to be a state dependent? Then you go with their program. You want to be an independent, successful person living life on your own terms? You go with mine. Michael, Southside.
Dan, good morning. Thank you for taking my call, and thank you for your comments about the address. I attended a watch party at the Billy Goat in Chicago on the near west side. And people, you could feel the enthusiasm among the crowd increase whenever Trump called out Democrats, and people were clapping when Representative Al Green was escorted out of the speech for his obnoxious sign.
Yeah, so of course. Thanks for the call, Michael. Yeah, Al Green up to his old antics, desperate to be relevant, not working. Mike and Hammond.
Hey, Dan, thanks for my call. Along the lines of affordability, I wish Trump would have emphasized we're doing what we can, but we can only do so much, because if you live in big blue cities and big blue states, every time we save you $1, they take $1. You'll have to vote differently at the ballot box one of these days. Done something like that.
Yeah. It's a good point, Mike. Thanks for the call. I agree. It's like, look, we even against some of my fellow Republicans, we increased the SALT deduction as part of the BBB for those people that live in these high tax, sclerotic cities and states like New York and Chicago. But there's only so much we can do when, you have the highest property taxes in the country, Chicagoland. Sorry. You're going to have to take that up with Pritzker and Brandon Johnson and the power structure you've decided to put in place at the state level. Same goes for you in New York with Hochul and Mamdani and the power structure you put in place in New York. That would have been a nice moment. Yeah, I agree.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. On AM 560, The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Law enforcement is a sickness that has not led to safe communities. Opponents of this law are preying upon fear of change to lie and fearmonger.
JB and BJ are the liars and the fearmongers. They are the sickness that is killing Illinois and Illinoisans. They give sanctuary to foreign predators and sanction to domestic repeat offenders while vilifying the police. A Cook County study found 74% of criminal defendants failed to show up to court after being released under Pritzker's Safety Act. Listen to this suburban police chief.
I don't call it the Safety Act. I call it the Unsafety Act, because that's what it is. I'm still waiting for somebody to explain to me where does safety come in. Who are we keeping safe here when you call it the Safety Act?
Not you. I will repeal Pritzker's purge law and end JB and BJ's killing spree before it hits you. I'm Ted Dabrowski, your conservative candidate for governor, and I'm asking for your vote in the Republican primary on March 17th. Paid for by Ted for Illinois.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
Let me tell you, Chicago gets cold, very cold, and they love me in Chicago. The fake news isn't reporting it, but it's true. And you can't have your furnace fail in Chicago. That's no good.
That's when you should call Air Right Heating and Cooling.
The technicians, beautiful people. You're freezing, everybody's freezing. They show up fast, know what they're doing, and get the heat back on quickly.
Air Right Heating and Cooling offers 24/7 service throughout Chicagoland.
A broken furnace in Chicago is like living in Greenland. And believe me, I know Greenland. Very cold, lots of ice. These guys install the best furnaces. Frankly, it's not even close. Even Rosie O'Donnell would say I'm right, but she won't.
For fast, reliable heating service, trust Air Right Heating and Cooling. Tell them AM 560 sent you and save $56 off any service.
Nobody's ever done anything like that. Unbelievable.
Visit them at air-right.com. That's AIR-RITE.com. Doing it right since 1959.
AM 560, The Answer.
By the way, on the lawfare piece, since I mentioned it in this last segment, John Solomon, this story today, this morning, the Fawny files. Remember her, Fawny Willis? Fulton County prosecutor plotted Trump case closely with Biden DOJ and J6 Democrats, according to memos that Just the News obtained in conjunction with others who FOIA'd and then ultimately sued to get these documents. Of course it was coordinated. I mean, we know about her Bose meetings at the White House and so forth, but of course it was coordinated. All of the prosecutions of Trump ran through the Biden White House, prosecuting your political opponents. That's part of what the left does. An anathema to a free society. This needs to be part of what is explained and re-explained and re-explained again over the next 8.5 months. Coming up at 6:36, we'll be joined by our friend Jim Urio. Talk a little bit about the SCOTUS tariff decision, what Trump had to say about that last night, and how this thing gets unwound going forward. At 6:36, now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 28 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson was joined by prominent Democratic leaders and celebrities for a rebuttal to the President's State of the Union address last night. In the online event dubbed the State of the Swamp, Johnson described President Donald Trump's State of the Union remarks as ramblings and incoherent phrases of nothing. In response to the president's stand on immigration, the mayor countered that he would never allow militarization of Chicago. Plans to build affordable housing units on vacant land in Humboldt are receiving mixed reactions from local citizens. CBS News Chicago reports the land would be home to a 6-story building which would house about 50 families. Rents would be subsidized. That proposal seeks to change the zoning from its current retail designation to mixed usage. The land is currently owned by the Hispanic Housing District, and officials with the housing district say they're listening to the community's input and they hope to break ground next year. News is a service of American Beam and Steel, structural repair licensed contractors for your home or business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark. American Beam and Steel. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Larry Elder compares the numbers.
And then you get this. Well, Obama deported people on the border, so they were really just returns. That's not true either. If you add up the people that Obama deported on the border, and he did, then his total deportations are not 3 million, they're 5 million, which means Obama deported a bunch of people, not at the border, but in the interior, just as Trump is doing right now.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, it's Scott Jennings inviting you to join me on the unforgettable Gulf of America cruise happening this November 2026. Imagine it. Turquoise waters, white sand, beaches, incredible food, and insightful conversations about the future of our great country. Mike Gallagher and I will dive into the issues shaping America as we cruise through some of the most stunning destinations while honoring the 250th anniversary of our nation. Text cruise to 94878 or visit scottjenningsshow.com and click the cruise banner to sign up today.
You know, there's nothing wrong with flying first class. Of course, everybody's got that cheapskate uncle that always says the back of the plane lands at the same time as the front of the plane. I guess there's some sort of cheapskate logic in that. However, the door is in the front of the plane, so why not get to first class? After all, they have dishes, silverware, glasses, warm towels. And if you want to sit at first class, or you aspire to, all you need is a little planning from Alpha Wealth Group. Their goal is to help maximize your income in retirement. Since you can't take it with you, there's no point in squandering your time. After all, the warm towels make the ride fun. Call Tom Fortino and Alpha Wealth Group for their complimentary roadmap to retirement, so you can take a first-class flight and not worry about the cost. Call 630-864-6711. That number again, 630-864-6711. 630-864-6711 or online at alphawealthgroup.com.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
Did you know a will alone does not keep your family out of court when you die? The court still has to approve your will, but get a living trust, and your estate can be settled clearly without issue. Talk to the attorneys at Naumann & Associates. They prepare wills and trusts for a flat fee, no surprises, no hourly rate. With decades of experience, they know the law and offer a free consultation. Contact Naumann & Associates in Elk Grove Village, nalawgroup.com. Call 847-593-8777.
Active Liver from New Nordic protects your liver so you can enjoy life to the fullest. Online at Amazon or in stores at CVS, Wegmans, and now GNC.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hackberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Looking at 15 minutes both ways on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose, the Kennedy 20 in, 21 out from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange, and we're starting to get busy on the Ike. It's 18 minutes inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, still looking good on the outbound side of 14. 25 in, 22 out on the Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. We are stop and go on the Dan Ryan local lanes inbound between 43rd Street and 35th Street. There's a broken down semi-truck, and it's blocking the center lane at 35th Street. So 30 minutes inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Outbound looks good at 11. A little bit sluggish in the express lanes as you head towards the Stevenson, and northbound on Lakeshore Drive, hitting the brakes into Hollywood Avenue. This report is the service of Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Those people are probably saving a carload of cash right now. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mostly sunny with breezy conditions in the afternoon, reaching a high of 37. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 23. Tomorrow will bring intervals of clouds and sunshine with a high of 44. Looking ahead to Friday, anticipate partly sunny skies and breezy conditions with a high of 60. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Scott Tucker Solutions and his show Retirement Decoded. Sunday mornings at 8. Learn more at scotttuckersolutions.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft talking about Trump's State of the Union speech last night. One thing we have not addressed yet, but we're going to straight away, is what he had to say about the Supreme Court decision, about tariffs, about the trade deals that have been negotiated, and whether or not they will stand as conceived.
One of the primary reasons for our country's stunning economic turnaround, the biggest in history, where the Dow Jones broke 50,000 4 years ahead of schedule, and the S&P hit 7,000, where it wasn't supposed to do it for many years, were tariffs. I used these tariffs, took in hundreds of billions of dollars to make great deals for our country, both economically and on a national security basis. Everything was working well. Countries that were ripping us off for decades are now paying us hundreds of billions of dollars. They were ripping us so badly, you all know that. Everybody knows it. Even the Democrats know it. They just don't want to say it. And yet these countries are now happy, and so are we. We made deals. The deals are all done. And they're happy. They're not making money like they used to, but we're making a lot of money. There was no inflation, tremendous growth. And the big story was how Donald Trump called the economy correctly, and 22 Nobel Prize winners in economics didn't. They got it totally wrong. They got it really wrong. And then just 4 days ago, an unfortunate ruling from the United States Supreme Court It just came down. It came down. Very unfortunate ruling. But the good news is that almost all countries and corporations want to keep the deal that they already made, right, Scott? Knowing that the legal power that I, as president, have to make a new deal could be far worse for them, and therefore they will continue to work along the same successful path that we had negotiated before the Supreme Court's unfortunate involvement. So despite the disappointing ruling, these powerful country-saving, it's saving our country, the kind of money we're taking in, peace-protecting. Many of the wars I settled was because of the threat of tariffs. I wouldn't have been able to settle them without. Will remain in place under fully approved and tested alternative legal statutes. And they have been tested for a long time. They're a little more complex, but they're actually probably better, leading to a solution that will be even stronger than before. Congressional action will not be necessary. It's already time-tested and approved. And as time goes by, I believe the tariffs paid for by foreign countries will, like in the past, substantially replace the modern-day system of income tax, taking a great financial burden off the people that I love.
Well, that's a nice sentiment, but there's a couple of things there. Number one, it's possible, but it's not necessarily clear that Section 122, in which he opposed that under which he imposed that 15% global tariff for 150 days, that is not time tested. It's not clear that additional congressional action will not be needed to affect the general terms of trade that he has negotiated in some instances. That's number one. Number two, you also have the pending issue of what to do with the tariffs that were collected, the taxes that were collected, and whether or not they should be refunded to those who paid them, should do some sort of refund to the American taxpayer, because that's who really paid 90% of them. Even I know Trump. That's not what Trump says, but that's what the studies so indicate, and what sort of basic economics would tell you is the case, that the majority of the taxes will be passed on to the consumer. That's how it works. So there's that. We don't know how that's going to play out in the lower courts, remanded for adjudication at the lower court level by the Supreme Court. You've already had FedEx sue to get reimbursed for the taxes they've paid. So that's unclear. And then just the last piece of it, I mean, I appreciate the blue sky thinking about taxes on trade, which is what tariffs are, replacing taxes on work, replacing the income tax. But even what Trump is talking about, hundreds of billions of dollars collected, the fiscal year 2026 budget was $7.5 trillion. You are nowhere close. Now, if you want to talk about how you're going to reduce spending at the federal level by, say, 90%, well, I'd love to have that conversation. But I don't think there's anybody on Capitol Hill or in the White House who's interested in having that conversation. So, I mean, let's just, plant our feet back on the terra firma here, if you will. All right, so let's talk about the economic implications, since the street was a bit roiled when the Supreme Court's decision came down and the president responded by doubling down. So for more on these economic matters, pleased to be joined, as always, by Jim Iuorio, host of the Futures Edge podcast and special contributor to Wire Points. And Jim's sister and business partner at Brant's in Palatine, proprietor, great restaurant. We're at our State of the Union watch party yesterday. That was fun to see them.
Fantastic. Yeah. Oh, they didn't tell me that.
Yeah, where were you? Where were you? You're too good for us?
I went down to Florida.
Oh.
I'm down to Florida. I'm getting some sun. You do that sometimes, too, so I think I can do it every once in a while, right?
Well, I guess I can't. I guess I have to admit I'm living in a glass house on that matter. Yeah, okay, fair enough. All right, so let's talk tariffs and how this is being processed on Wall Street, so we can get back to that 50,000 Dow threshold that the president keeps bragging about.
So I think that the story that came out of the tariffs is not about whether or not this new world is good or bad. It's about the uncertainty of it. Remember, 2026 was supposed to be the year that kind of trade policy was more settled and companies could make plans based on what they thought was going to be it. And then all of a sudden a wrench was thrown in that. So that, and one of the reasons on the day that that it came out, you saw gold rally $150, because what that's telling us is that 2025 was a year that was characterized by global trade being a little bit in flux and other countries trying to get away from the dollar. I think they're going to be unsuccessful with de-dollarizing, but they were buying gold. So gold rallied $150 off the tariff thing. And again, it's not about good or bad. It's just about now we got to wait a little bit longer. And again, these people, by the way, you mentioned something before about cutting spending. I don't even know what that means. I've never heard that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Including, I always say about Republicans is that they talk about cutting spending when they don't have the power to cut spending. It's when they get in power. They seem to forget all about that. But anyway, so the tariff thing, and again, these people who think they're these free trade purists who come out with tariffs are bad because Adam Smith and Hayek and Milton Friedman said they were bad. Yes, they're right. But if other countries are using tariffs against us, it's silly to not try to level the playing field. So please, people just stop with that nonsense. It's absurd. Yes, I don't like tariffs as a general rule, but if we're trying
for
to
leverage
bring
purposes.
Back, yeah, exactly. So come on, we've been ripped off. He's right about us being ripped off for the last 30, 40 years. There's no question he's right about that. And even if you're the biggest Donald Trump hater, you have to understand that sometimes he's not wrong on everything. This was 100% right. Yes.
I mean, his not necessarily his interpretation of the IEEPA statute, but his disposition towards tariffs as the means to lowering trade barriers. That's what you're saying.
There's no question about it. If it's a cudgel to get them to the table to negotiate good trade deals, and it works, then great. It's fantastic. And I mean, it seems like a reasonable enough plan to me.
So at the end of the day, though, I mean, is this matter of what happens to the, let's say it's $200 billion. $200 billion in taxes collected by the federal government. If they have to refund it to those who want refunds like FedEx, if that's what the lower court holds, or if they come up with some sort of plan to say, okay, well, we refund it and we'll refund it to the American taxpayer directly. However they do it, I mean, is that something that is particularly disruptive, or is it just, as you said, the pending uncertainty about what Trump claimed yesterday, but people are going to want to see that the trade deals as they were negotiated are going to remain in substantial effect?
So I think the notion of returning it to the taxpayers, I think, is the most clumsy, cumbersome thing. And it's just such a chaotic system. I don't see how they'd ever even suggest that that's possible. Secondly, if all of a sudden the government said, okay, we've got to give $300 billion out, it could be, somewhat inflationary, although I'm not 100% concerned about inflationary. But to your point, yes, I think the only thing that's important to me is the uncertainty of it, and not necessarily where it shakes out. It's just that it does shake out, and we have some clarity on where it's going to go within the next 6 months, let's say.
There's a lot of talk about the pending Trump boom. We're at the cusp of it now with the BBB taking full effect and the immediate expensing of CapEx investments by businesses and so forth. We're about to see an explosion in productive capacity and, by extension, economic growth. And I mean, that's a big statement. And this is against the backdrop of this affordability crisis that some substantial portion of the population is feeling. What is your view on those claims for this calendar year?
So I think it's a big deal, and I do think that is a massive economic tailwind. Is three things. This one is the tax cuts. You said the expensing, which is by far the biggest part of it. But no tax on tips and overtimes it's significant, but just not at the top of the list of what's important. But the expensing is. And then now all of a sudden the deregulation part seeps in, and then all the reinvestment. We understand Donald Trump. He's been in the public eye for 60 years. If he says $21 trillion has been committed to the United States, we could probably safely assume that it's about a third of that, $7 or $8, $9 trillion of investment coming in. I mean, talk is cheap. And Japan just said they're going to invest in our energy infrastructure. I want to see that happen, and so does the market. And by the way, you mentioned, or Donald Trump mentioned, actually, the 7,000 level in the S&P. Everybody thinks it's just a number. It's not just a number. That level has been a ceiling for the last 4 months. And I think what the market is telling us is we need to see actual tangible results of these things, which I think we will. Now, juxtapose that against the labor market, which is undeniably weak. So the question becomes, why is it weak? Personally, I think that efficiencies and productivity gains from AI is a huge part of it. Second, I think that there was an over-hiring that went on after there was no labor available. And if one of those two reasons it, and the Fed is cutting into that at the same time as the economy is expanding due to those things we were talking about, I think that could be very good for risk assets.
What did you think about this? You know, he talked about the Trump accounts for newborns that was buttressed by $6 billion from Michael Dell, which was
nice,
very nice of him. Yeah, I wish I could get that kind of match at with my employer. But so that was the jumping off point to say, for those people that are not participating in the stock market, you can't beat you can't fight City Hall. Here it comes. We're going to make contributions to your 401ks for people working for companies where the employer is not making the contribution, matching your contribution up to $1,000 each year so that everybody can participate in the run-up of the stock market under this president. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm against it in principle. I don't like the government being too involved in things and the government being our benefactor, but that doesn't mean it might not have a great result. It could easily have a great result. But can I walk the line on this and say that my libertarian background and views says no, I'm against it, despite the fact that I think it will end up being a good thing? Is that a cop-out answer in your opinion?
No, I mean it's an honest answer. It's an honest answer that is a concession of your hypocrisy. No, I'm kidding.
Exactly. Oh no, yeah, I'm hypocritical. There's no question about it. I don't think it's
well, as La Rochefoucauld said, it's the tribute that virtue pays to vice, or vice pays to virtue.
Exactly.
Vice pays to virtue.
Yeah.
Anyway, no. So I mean, what if? How about this? Would it make you feel better if we could get Michael Dell to kick in $6 billion to that too while he's at it?
No question.
Make me feel better.
100%. Yeah, I'm 100% for that. When the private market solves problems like that, that makes me happy. That's a great thing. I have no reservations about that. I'll kick in a couple bucks too. It might be a little less than what Michael Dell kicked in, but I'll kick in a couple bucks.
So you're still pretty sanguine then about market performance this year and general. Well, I mean, you essentially said it, that we're going to see the fruits of the policies that the Trump administration has moved in his first year.
Yes, that's my belief. But by the way, the stock market has come fast. 3 consecutive years of double-digit gains. Usually the fourth year is kind of tough. Midterm years sometimes are kind of tough. So I don't think it's going to be an easy straight path, and I think there might be bumpy along the way. But yeah, I'm definitely pro risk assets into the end of 2026 and forward.
And do you have any updated commentary on crypto? I mean, since it seemed to lose some of its mojo and Bitcoin is languishing.
Talking to you, Dan. I have updated commentary on everything.
Well, good. So I'm sure the Bitcoin maximalists want to know when it's going to get back to 130 where they like it.
Okay, so here's what my analysis has been on Bitcoin since October. So Bitcoin and the NASDAQ put in highs around the same week and have both been taken on water since. The NASDAQ is still, the Bitcoin is still highly correlated to the NASDAQ. That's not a good thing. There's a real fundamental reason why that is, too. When major institutions started trading Bitcoin, they threw it to the people who knew volatility, which were the NASDAQ traders. So those two assets have formed this huge correlation. Well, it's not good for Bitcoin because it's supposed to be an uncorrelated asset and it's supposed to be a bet on profligate spending and poor stewardship of fiat currency. So it's not serving its function right now. But to your point, so my point is that if the NASDAQ starts to rally again, which NASDAQ has had a difficult time because it was stretched. Growth is still the place to be long term, but the NASDAQ was obviously stretched with the Mag 7. So those two things moved in tandem, and it knocked Bitcoin down 50%. That makes sense to me. Bitcoin has had moves like that before. If it finds its footing at 60,000, I might be buying some more. Again, I stopped buying it on a monthly basis before, but I don't think Bitcoin is dead yet.
And the Mag 7, if you're overweighted tech stocks, would you recalibrate at this juncture?
Yeah, I already did. My theme for the beginning of the year was that to be long the Russell against the NASDAQ. So I got out of some of my NASDAQ longs and bought the small caps, the more domestic stocks, because, again, part of that is what I said before about the economy, the domestic economy, probably going in a good direction in 2026. So that trade has worked pretty well. I've been long oil as well because I do think the domestic economy is getting better, so demand for oil should be good as well. But yeah, I lightened up. Again, it doesn't – stocks – remember when the internet stocks went through the roof? And all of a sudden they collapsed to the tune of 80%. Those stocks were basically gone, most of them. But the internet still existed. The technology was still fabulous and transformative and disruptive. That's going to be the same thing with AI.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, Facebook, the Mag 7 stocks, that they're not Pets.com. So they make money. They make tons of money. Right. That's a great point. They're not going away. I hope that's not what it sounded like I was saying. They're not going away at all. I just think that everyone, the knee-jerk reaction to AI was, who's building AI? Let's buy all those stocks. But that's really not necessarily where the biggest effect is going to be. That could be on who uses AI most effectively. And again, the second derivative was also silver and copper, which that was my trade for 2025, the energy needed for AI data centers and crypto secondarily. But yeah, I think that it's going to be who uses AI. So I'm not running in to buy the makers of AI right now. I'm not short them either, but I'm not running in to buy them. All right, great. Now I got to call my Morgan Stanley guy. Probably take the next segment off. I got to get my act together.
Right.
Jim Urio, host of the Futures Edge podcast, special contributor to WirePoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related, and proprietor of Brandt's Restaurant in Palatine. Jim, thank you as always.
Thank you. See ya.
And he joins us in Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
When you can no longer handle your own home, Hearthstone Assisted Living at the Lutheran Home in Arlington Heights is here to help make life easier. Experience upscale living with comprehensive health services. We offer fine dining, engaging activities, available chaplains, weekly worship services, and quality amenities including a bistro, expansive library, and general store. For a limited time, mention WYLL for an additional discount. Call 847-595-5024 or visit LutheranLifeCommunities.org.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com. And schedule your free in-home consultation today.
AM 560. The Answer. WIND. Chicago.
This is a Fox News alert. President Trump makes history on primetime TV. I'm Dave Anthony with the longest address to Congress ever.
The state of our union is strong.
And he went on for about an hour, 48 minutes.
The roaring economy is roaring like never before, and our enemies are scared. Our military and police are stacked, and America is respected again.
The president touted lower inflation and his new tariffs, critical of the Supreme Court decision last week that struck down the old ones. And he brought up Iran, which he has threatened to attack militarily again.
They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon.
The president also continued his push to crack down on illegal immigration.
We are deporting illegal alien criminals to our country at record numbers, and we're getting them the hell out of here fast.
And then the president asked anyone who agrees that the first duty of government is to protect Americans, not illegal aliens, to stand up. And when Democrats stayed seated, the president said,
"Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself."
Well, you can hear some Democrats shouting back at him. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar yelled he should be ashamed of himself. More than 70 Democrats were no-shows boycotting the Trump speech, and as Fox's Gernal Scott reports, Virginia's governor delivered the formal Democratic response.
Governor Abigail Spanberger took on tax cuts promised in the Big Beautiful Bill, saying they were offset by the use of tariffs, and at the same time called out the president's party.
Republicans in Congress, they remain unwilling to assert their constitutional authority to stop him.
Spanberger accused President Trump of worsening America's issues and said to deflect from them,
he lied, he scapegoated, and he distracted.
There were also special guests honored last night.
Here with us tonight is a group of winners who just made the entire nation proud.
The U.S. men's gold medal winning hockey team. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 28 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Community violence intervention advocates are touting lower crime numbers here in Chicago with more than $100 million of assistance from state taxpayers. Jim Talamonte has more.
Chicago Cred founder and former U.S. Secretary of Education Arne Duncan said arrests and incarcerations declined along with violent crime. Duncan spoke in Chicago on Tuesday and said what Illinois has done with the Peacekeepers program is extraordinary.
There is no way we get the kind of results we've gotten across the city without them investing over $100 million each year.
In addition to state taxpayer funding, Chicago is spending about $32 million on CVI this year, and Cook County is spending $20 million. Retired Riverside, Illinois Police Chief Thomas Weitzel does not favor diverting taxpayer funds from police to CVI programs.
They have no statutory responsibility for emergency response. And what I mean by that is they don't respond to 911 calls. They don't conduct criminal investigations.
I'm Jim Talamonte.
A 33-year-old woman has been charged in the death of an Uber Eats driver on Monday morning. Police say Montoya Perry was taken into custody Tuesday afternoon. She's accused of carjacking 28-year-old Daniel Figueroa. The man was killed after he was hit by his own vehicle as the suspect fled the scene. Perry is being charged with murder and vehicular hijacking. And 2 daycare workers at Des Plaines have been arrested on child abuse charges. Police say 36-year-old Jessica Murillo and 23-year-old Isabella Thompson have been charged after an investigation showed the pair harming 7 boys between the ages of 4 and 5 years old. Police say officials with the daycare are cooperating with the investigation. This news report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Hugh Hewitt doesn't see a friendly Iran.
The USS Abraham Lincoln had an F-35 from the carrier shoot down a Shahed drone from Iran that got too close to the Lincoln. Also today, a half dozen Iranian gunboats approached a U.S.-flagged oil tanker and tried to take it under their control. This is not the action of a regime that wants to negotiate.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Alex Marlowe at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Let me share Brian's story. He's in Alabama, and he wrote in, he said, Glenn, after taking Relief Factor for just 3 weeks, at least 90% of my pain is gone. My pain had started to limit me at work and at home, and I am amazed at the relief that I have gotten. Those are Brian's own words, and they speak volumes about what Relief Factor can do. And I've seen that kind of transformation in myself, and hearing Brian's experience reinforces why I take endorsing Relief Factor so seriously. Before I started taking Relief Factor myself, I was losing hope that I could ever have a normal life again. My hands were in so much pain. It's created by doctors, 100% drug-free product using 4 key ingredients. It supports the body's natural inflammatory response. Hundreds of thousands of people have ordered Relief Factor, and like Brian and me, over 2/3 of these people go on to order more month after month. So don't wait. If you're dealing with pain, launch your 3-week quick start and see what Relief Factor can do for you. Call 800-4RELIEF or go to ReliefFactor.com. Don't wait anymore. Feel what it's like to be out of pain. 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Safety. It's so important at your industrial facility. You need to keep your personnel safe and meet OSHA requirements. One problem with your ladders, platforms, or safety guards, and you could be facing costly fines. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to keep your employees safe.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. As a business owner, I realize the importance of keeping my employees safe, and I'm here to offer my expertise. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor uniquely equipped to design, fabricate, and install safety equipment, including walkways, handrails, stairways, and machinery guards. Our Vans Industrial team can inspect existing systems, engineer solutions, fabricate quality goods, and install them with trained pros, all making a safer environment for your employees.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free inspection of your facility. Interested in what else they do? Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANS Industrial.com. Quality craftsmanship since 1964.
Don't miss cutting-edge coverage of daily news on the Alex Marlowe Podcast.
For so many years, we thought we would see terror. Is it a Muslim? Now we're starting to think, is it a trans person? And we've indulged all of this. It's completely our fault, self-inflicted wound. We've run so hard away from the science and towards insanity. They'll never stop. They will never be done. They will always try to take more. They will always try to create more chaos.
Subscribe to the Alex Marlowe Podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
At Access One, we don't take chances with your technology, and we put $10,000 behind our assessment to prove it. Our mission is to strengthen your IT security and resilience, backed by over 30 years of experience, serving organizations across the Midwest. And here's the deal. If we can't find even one measurable way to improve your technology or security posture based on NIST or CIS security frameworks, we'll write you a check for $10,000. This free, confidential risk assessment is available for businesses with 25 to 500 employees and is designed to validate your IT performance against recognized security regulations. No gimmicks, just a confident promise from a partner who knows technology. Ready to take the challenge? Visit accessoneInc.com/challenge or call 800-654-1555. Certain conditions apply. See details online.
Sean Thompson here, and with me today is my friend Dr. Michael Huber, who is one of the creators and developers of Virago. So, Dr. Huber, why don't you tell us what Virago is, what inspired you to create it, and the benefits of it?
I created Virago with 23 natural ingredients that work together to create this immune response in the body. I created it to fight viruses in the beginning, and it's turned into a huge immune booster in a liquid form.
Right, and why a liquid versus a pill?
A liquid provides a rapid response time in the body, and it's optimal for absorption. When you swish it and it's in your mouth, stimulating the bitter taste receptors, you get a rapid response. Like within 15 minutes, you can have a decongestion in your nose.
Well, that's absolutely fantastic. And now you can order a bottle at myvirago.com. Myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Virago and Maha.
Maha starts with Virago.
Making America healthy again.
If you're over 65 and struggling with knee pain, Joint Relief Institute offers a guaranteed way to treat it. It's non-surgical and often covered by Medicare and private insurance. It's JRI's joint arthritis treatment, knee lubrication placement that's so accurate, it's 100% guaranteed and can relieve your knee and shoulder pain in 10 minutes or less. Book your risk-free consultation today and get back to walking, golfing, pickleball to cycling without pain or medication. Call 708-315-6800. Meet the provider, get an x-ray and joint consultation. Why wait? JRI has treated over 30,000 Chicagoans and performed over 400,000 procedures. You could be next. Over 5,000 five-star Google reviews can't be wrong.
Stop living in pain. Call the Joint Relief Institute today, 708-315-6800, or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. That's 708-315-6800 for the Joint Relief Institute. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hackberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Still doing great on the Edens. 15 minutes both ways from Lake Cook to Montrose. 28 minutes inbound on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 27. The Ike is slowing down inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office. 29 minutes. Outbound is 18. Stop and go on the Stevenson with a collision on the left shoulder at Cicero Avenue. Delays start right around Harlem Avenue. So 37 minutes inbound from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound is 23. We have a broken down semi-truck on the Dan Ryan inbound. It's on the right shoulder at 35th Street. Right now it's 21 minutes from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 11. Northbound Lakeshore Drive completely jammed right now between Bryn Mawr Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. News and Traffic is a service of American Beam and Steel Structural Repair Licensed Contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark. American Beam and Steel. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mostly sunny with breezy conditions in the afternoon, reaching a high of 37. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 23. Tomorrow will bring intervals of clouds and sunshine with a high of 44. Looking ahead to Friday, anticipate partly sunny skies and breezy conditions with a high of 60. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, talking about President's State of the Union speech. So much to pour over because it covered so much territory and introduced so many additional people. The use of special guests like never before seen, not since Lenny Skutnik broke the seal. One of the other issues, though, that Trump did not address that I wish he would have, and I understand. 2 hours, he got a lot accomplished in terms of covering policy issues, but in a perfect world, something that should be included in his offerings, school choice. The opt-in for the federal school choice program that the president included in the BBB, the Big Beautiful Bill, that even a Dem governor named Jared Polis of Colorado has signed on to, saying, as we covered on this show, I would be crazy not to take free money. People want to donate money to provide scholarship opportunities for kids in my state. Why would I not take that? Well, that's a question that could be put to a lot of blue state governors, including our very own J.B. Pritzker, who have, of course, reflexively opted out of free money, lest they draw the ire of the teachers' unions. It would have been good to make that point, too. And even in the context, particularly, of the disproportionate beneficiaries being minority families in this country, as has been the case with school choice programs at the state level across the nation. And put that in the context of what he has done, even though his opposition to DEI policies rankles some identitarians, what he has done otherwise to provide opportunity to minority families through things like opportunity scholarships at the K through 12 level, just mentioning, through his commitment in Term 1 to historic black colleges and universities, to the Second Chance Act, and so forth, some of which was recently discussed and discussed again at the Black History Month event that he had at the White House. But it's good to include that in the overall offerings. For more on that topic, in part, please be joined by Juan Williams, senior political analyst for Fox News. He's got a new book, New Prize for These Eyes, The Rise of America's Second Civil Rights Movement. Juan Williams, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Nice to be with you.
Good morning. So in this piece in The Hill, you write about the distribution of the black vote in part, and the sort of historic representation of black Americans in public office around the country. There's never been more elected black officials.
Right.
And you write this: now the question for black voters is about the value of continuing to invest in pursuit of political power when white voters remain defiantly opposed to joining hands across racial lines. White voters resist a coalition even when the alternative is Trump's record of indifference to low-income white people, as well as demeaning non-white people.
Mm-hmm.
So, white voters, and I'm assuming you mean conservatives, because you're not certainly criticizing white leftists. So, white voters are resistant across racial lines, and yet you have a president with a support of white voters supporting things like his school choice program, his investment in historic black colleges, his Second Chance Act, and so on and so forth. So I'm perplexed.
I must say I'm perplexed as I listen to you. I mean, just recently, the president was putting out this, or reposting this meme of the Obamas as apes. I mean, that's pretty insulting by any measure. But it's, to me, I mean, this is like the other day when the press secretary said, how can anyone say the president, is racist? And people say, wait a minute, isn't this the guy who did the birther movement? I mean, that was the start of his political advance. And the guy who talks about immigrants coming from countries that are, profane, I'll just leave it at that for the radio broadcast. But to me, there's so many points of policy where you could take the position that you're offering this morning, Dan, and I agree on school choice. I think that the schools in our country really don't serve the kids, especially low-income minority kids who overwhelmingly go to still heavily segregated schools. I have my concerns about how people pursue things like vouchers, because then it turns out that people who already have their kids in private schools are using that money to, lessen the pain of their debt to those private schools, instead of saying, hey, it's got to go to the poor kids who don't have a chance and help them rise up to the greatness of America. So, to me, that's the real conversation. I don't think, when I talk in this piece about, an alliance between minority and white voters, the key thing that stands out to me, and this is something that when I was, out on the book tour for my new book, talking to people about race, they would all, inevitably, someone would raise his hand or her hand in the audience, and they would say, I read here that you said that white voters have not supported a Democrat for president since 1964, Lyndon Johnson. That's wrong, isn't it? I say, no, that's exactly right. So we're talking there about white men and white women. Not one time have they supported a Democrat. Overwhelmingly, blacks and Latinos have supported the Democrats, and that includes moderates. We're talking about people like Jimmy Carter from Georgia. We're talking about Bill Clinton from Arkansas. But white voters never once supported a Democrat. So that's what I'm saying. Wouldn't it be amazing if you saw a coalition of moderate to conservative white voters say, you know what, we see common ground here and opportunities to create a different kind of politics in the country and appeal to moderate, maybe, left to center minority voters, not the radicals, and say, yeah, okay, let's not listen to the far right or far left. Let's listen to each other and create a new kind of American politics.
So are white voters monolithic? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, of course not. I just said, I don't listen to the extremes. I just said that.
But single white women vote overwhelmingly for Democrats. So there's a cohort you have. Unmarried college-educated women vote overwhelmingly for Democrats. So there's a white cohort you have. So just like 20% of black men voted for Trump. So there's a cohort that I have, in terms of trying to bring more black voters into the conservative ranks and the Republican Party by extension, by function. So, is it so white and black, or is it based on, value and interest alignment, do you think?
I think you're talking about the fringes, and I think that, in the
fringes?
current political...
College-educated white women and single and unmarried white women are fringes?
Hang on, I'm your guest. You said you have 20% of black voters, and you cited that as saying that means you have that element. And I'm thinking to myself, so 80% voted against you. Of that, we're talking just men, because we're not talking about black women. That was even more opposition to Trump. But you're saying that 20% of black men means you have some inroad into the black community. And I'm thinking to myself, that's a fringe. That's what I'm saying to you.
Okay, it's a minority. Yes, I agree.
It's a fringe. 80% vote the other way.
Yeah, well, 80% of people support voter ID too, but that doesn't change the Democratic Party's position. So the point is to say you can turn 20% into something different. People move around, including among racial demographics. People move around. But my point is to say, on the other side, so my 20% of black men who voted for Trump, that's a fringe. Your majorities of single white women and college-educated single women is that a fringe too? I mean, you're the one who wants to do this along racial lines. So I'm just trying to understand what the terminology is here and what constitutes a fringe that's to be dismissed and what doesn't.
Well, there's majorities as opposed to fringes, and a majority of whites have not voted for a Democrat, any Democrat, even a conservative Democrat, since 1964.
And so that's the problem of white people, but it's not a problem that 80% plus of black people have not voted for a Republican since forever. So we've got a problem with whites who are majority, slim majority, voting for Republican presidential candidates, but we don't have a problem with blacks that are voting in supermajority for Democrats.
Exactly wrong. You know, what I was saying to you goes back historically. I think you need to put some history to this. Remember that after the Civil Rights Act 64, Voting Rights Act of 65 was passed, Lyndon Johnson, apocryphally said, the Democrats have lost the South for a generation. Now, you can say, oh, was that a racial statement? Well, it was coming from a white president from Texas who was saying, oh, now the Republicans are going to exploit racial division in the country to lock in white voters, especially those in the South. And guess what? He's right. He was he forecast exactly what has happened, because previously you had, yellow dog Democrats in the South who would vote for a Democrat, but no longer is the case that any state in the South goes for the Democratic Party after 64. Now, you might say to me, I hear you saying, oh, Juan, you're putting this on a racial basis. I'm telling you, Dan, racial politics, this is the history I'm talking about. Racial politics are central to the American political story. And that's why I said the majority of whites, to repeat, have not once gone over and voted for a Democrat, even a moderate to conservative Democrat.
And so? So why is that like particularly a racial problem in your view? I mean,
I think politicians exploit racial appeals. What did Dr. King say? You can feed people the bread of hate instead of actually giving them bread.
I see. So Republican candidates are winning a majority of the white vote by dog whistling and appealing to racial animus. So therein lies the problem, and no other politician, certainly no politician on the left, is engaged in any sort of racial identitarianism that exploits latent animus. Is that right?
We have. You're talking to a guy who knows about bad actors in terms of black and Latino politicians.
Okay,
I've covered them, but I'm saying to you that it's hard to match when you have J.D. Vance and Donald Trump talking about black people, Haitians in Ohio eating white people's pets. That's pretty low, dude.
I think it was, the issue. First of all, this selective memification of politics to the exclusion of substantive policy is not particularly persuasive. You're talking about some stupid meme that either Trump or a staffer let get past the goalie that shouldn't have been posted, and comparing that to a national school choice program, comparing that to historic investments in historically black colleges, universities, comparing that to the Second Chance Act. I mean, that is apples to orange groves. It's really silly, actually.
Yeah, I think it's very silly when you understand that I was talking to you and you were talking to me about how white conservative politicians send out, you said, winks and nods and other kind of racial messages in order to lock in white voters. That's what we're talking about.
Right. The same politicians that are at the tip of the spear for what I think you used to call the civil rights movement of this generation, which is school choice. The same politicians that led the essentially broke the seal on school choice, like Tommy Thompson with Polly Williams in Wisconsin, and going back 35 years now. I mean, this has been a movement that has been driven by an interesting and racially diverse and economically diverse coalition of people, which is why you have school choice programs in a majority of states now. And that's just given short shrift because you want to argue about the salient, intemperate word or silly meme of the day. And I just don't understand how you miss the forest for the twigs when it comes to substantive policy and impact on people's lives.
Well, first of all, you're talking to someone who's a school choice supporter. I think
you
said that at the start.
I know.
So that's not the issue. The issue in terms of substance is trying to create a coalition of people that could lessen the racial and political polarization in this country that goes way beyond just the school choice issue, that goes to solving some of our problems, that goes away from things like coming down the golden escalator and declaring that the Mexicans are rapists and thieves.
Okay.
I mean, talk about a racial appeal off the bat.
More meme politics. Are you
Oh,
going to give me a bastardization of what he said at Charlottesville next? What is it exactly that you want? What is it that you want? What is it that quote unquote white America, or the majority that votes for Republicans, which is a combination of slices of white America? What is it you want from them exactly, policy wise?
Oh, policy-wise,
Yeah.
I would, we agree on this, Dan, that we would come back to, let's act not out of fear, but out of hope, and let's fix the schools. I would say that would be a big one for me. And school choice is part of that. Just get some innovation in there and get away from seeing the teachers' unions dominate in terms of their interest and their pensions and their protections for people who cannot do the job in many cases.
If that's your
you and I would agree on that.
Well, I know, but here's the thing. So if that's your priority, you already have the white Americans voting Republican on board for that. What you don't have is your party that is beholden to the teachers' union on board for it. White, black, Latino, Asian, etc. I mean, so I don't.
You have a good point. I'm not. Look, my feeling though is you should realize that when you come to this point, the racial politics of the country is so polarized that you can't get the Democrats out of that box. And I think we need to do that. Okay. And I think we need to get Republicans out of a box where they're using the vouchers to pay for religious schools, the Catholic schools, or the private schools.
Come on.
That they're already attending. So, I mean, let's just be honest and stop lying and say, oh, it's the Democrats because of their support of the union. No, you know what? We still live, and I think you and I can see this, no matter the color of our skin. We can see how segregated America's public schools remain to this very moment.
Yeah.
If you talk about the private schools, forget about it. Totally segregated. So, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yes, it's segregated. It's segregated in places like Chicago, where you have had one-party rule for 100 years, where you have had two successive black mayors, both to beholden to the teachers' unions opposed to school choice. And you can repeat that story in major cities across the country, as you know. We have de facto segregation in Chicago, for example, at the hands of your party's politicians for a century. But that's the white guy's fault. I just find that hard to reconcile. And the flip side is to say we're polarized by race, which I think is actually overstated in terms of how most people live their lives on a daily basis. Certainly it is for me. But even to the extent that there is truth to that, it is because we obsess about conferring benefits and imposing responsibilities and ascribing bases for grievances strictly along racial lines without any other contextual factors. The politics is so banal and ham-handed that it begets this sort of circular discussion that we're having. I mean, if you could just sign on to the actual policy and recognize the allies you have on a policy position we both share, then the point is to move beyond race and just talk about opportunity that is colorblind, if you will. I thought that was the point.
I agree. I think that's right. That's what the whole argument that I've been trying to make to you is about, that if we could get away from the racial politics, if people could say, you know what, I'm not going to respond to these, provocateurs, and as you were saying, they're trying to create these viral moments or these memes or whatever, and mocking people and belittling people because of the color of their skin or their ethnicity or their heritage. Get away from that, and actually look at what is good for you, your family, your economic position, your children's education, the future. And I think there would be lots of common ground across racial lines. But I don't think it's possible at the moment because, when you look at Trump, for example, he has succeeded in using white racial grievance to lock in the white vote. And people don't look at terms of what's in their best interest on the broader scale. You're picking one issue. school choice. And I, as a black person, agree with what you're saying. So, I mean, I don't think we're arguing, but I would love to see that on a broader scale. And, you talk about economic issues. Wow. Imagine if black and white people said, you know what, we're going to put economic issues first, and they came together. That might be the most powerful movement in the history of the United States.
Juan Williams, senior political analyst for Fox News. The new book, New Prize for These Eyes, The Rise of America's Second Civil Rights Movement. New Prize for These Eyes, the author Juan Williams. Juan, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
What a pleasure, Dan. You know what? I enjoy our conversations because they are lively.
Yes, me too. I do.
Yeah.
We'll have you back soon. Thanks, Juan. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
And Juan joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
You know, there's nothing wrong with flying first class. Of course, everybody's got that cheapskate uncle that always says the back of the plane lands at the same time as the front of the plane. I guess there's some sort of cheapskate logic in that. However, the door is in the front of the plane. So why not get to first class? After all, they have dishes, silverware, glasses, warm towels. And if you want to sit at first class, or you aspire to, all you need is a little planning from Alpha Wealth Group. Their goal is to help maximize your income in retirement. Since you can't take it with you, there's no point in squandering your time. After all, the warm towels make the ride fun. Call Tom Fortino and Alpha Wealth Group for their complimentary roadmap to retirement, so you can take a first-class flight and not worry about the cost. Call 630-864-6711. That number again, 630-864-6711. 630-864-6711, or online at alphawealthgroup.com.
Hey, it's Scott Tucker and my new co-host,
Amy Jacobson,
on AM 560. We wanted you to know that we have a special show every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. here on AM 560, The Answer. It is Retirement Decoded with Scott Tucker and
Amy Jacobson.
It's every Sunday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. 2-hour show, 2-hour radio extravaganza. Amy, we're going to tantalize the listening public and the listening private with all kinds of retirement planning information. So tune in at AM 560 Sunday mornings at 7 a.m.
Welcome back to Ask Hasslis.
I thought you didn't have any employees.
That's right. Our showrooms are employee-free.
But you still answer the phone?
Of course. Order Sealy Posturepedic and Beauty Rest mattresses by phone, online, or at our in-store kiosk.
No employees.
Saves you money. Through Monday, trade in your old mattress and get additional savings of $248 off a queen and $348 off a king.
Keep this up and you'll be named Non-Employee of the Month.
Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hasslis.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 7:37, we'll address a portion of what Trump talked about last night under the rubric of affordability, and that's energy prices. Bjorn Lundberg from the Copenhagen Consensus think tank and author of Best Things First joins us at, that's at 8:08, so at 7:37. Oh, good. We haven't gotten to Team USA and that whole portion of the program. So we'll do Team USA, the hockey team, at 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 28 degrees in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas is being accused of berating staffers by the tech company employed to work on the county's tax system. Accusations made by Tyler Technologies include berating staffers, racial slurs, and bullying. The company has issued a 9-page letter outlining the behavior of Pappas and stresses that they will not work directly under Pappas. Officials with the Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle's office say those allegations will be forwarded to the Department of Ethics and Human Rights for review. And Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson joined prominent Democratic leaders and celebrities for a rebuttal to the President's State of the Union address last night. In the online event that was dubbed the State of the Swamp, Johnson described President Donald Trump's State of the Union remarks as ramblings and incoherent phrases of nothing. In response to the president's stand on immigration, the mayor countered that he would never allow militarization of Chicago. News is a service of American Beam and Steel, structural licensed contractors for your home and your business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark. American Beam and Steel. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Scott Jennings sees a disconnect.
2/3 of Americans say that yes, local police and jails should hand illegal immigrants over to federal law enforcement. Of course, the Tim Walz and Jacob Fry position is that they will not cooperate. Democrats, it seems, are badly out of step with the American people.
The Scott Jennings Show, weekdays at noon, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Let me share Brian's story. He's in Alabama, and he wrote in, he said, Glenn, after taking Relief Factor for just 3 weeks, at least 90% of my pain is gone. My pain had started to limit me at work and at home, and I am amazed at the relief that I have gotten. Those are Brian's own words, and they speak volumes about what Relief Factor can do. And I've seen that kind of transformation in myself, and hearing Brian's experience reinforces why I take endorsing Relief Factor so seriously. Before I started taking Relief Factor myself, I was losing hope that I could ever have a normal life again. My hands were in so much pain. It's created by doctors, 100% drug-free product using 4 key ingredients. It supports the body's natural inflammatory response. Hundreds of thousands of people have ordered Relief Factor, and like Brian and me, over 2/3 of these people go on to order more month after month. So don't wait. If you're dealing with pain, launch your 3-week quick start and see what Relief Factor can do for you. Call 800-4RELIEF or go to relieffactor.com. Don't wait anymore. Feel what it's like to be out of pain. 1-800-4RELIEF.
Active Liver from New Nordic protects your liver so you can enjoy life to the fullest. Online at Amazon or in stores at CVS, Wegmans, and now GNC.
Well, the delays are definitely getting in your way now on the inbound Kennedy. It's about a 45-minute drive from O'Hare into the Circle interchange. A good 15 to 20 of that is coming just from Montrose into the loop right now. Inbound on the Eisenhower, you're looking at about a 45-minute drive from Wolf into the post office, with the majority of that coming between 25th and Western. Inbound Stevenson, looking at about a 40-minute drive between the Tri-State and Lakeshore Drive. Most of that is coming between Harlem and Pulaski. That short stretch will cost you about 15 to 20 minutes on its own. Inbound side of the Dan Ryan, the earlier crash has been cleared. However, you're still looking at a 30-minute drive from 95th into the Circle interchange, and the express lanes don't look a whole lot faster. You're looking at about a 17 to 20-minute drive from Marquette into the Stevenson. Traffic is a service of Capital One. Earn unlimited double miles on every purchase with the Capital One Venture X business card. Big purchasing power means you can spend more and earn more. The Capital One Venture X business card. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details. In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Brian White.
Today will be mostly sunny with breezy conditions in the afternoon, reaching a high of 37. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 23. Tomorrow will bring intervals of clouds and sunshine with a high of 44. Looking ahead to Friday, anticipate partly sunny skies and breezy conditions with a high of 60. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by The Real Story with Jeannie Ives and Amy Jacobson. Heard weekday mornings at 11 on AM 560, The Answer. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I'm going to get to Trump's recognition of the boys of Team USA, the hockey team, in just a second. But I did want to just address one other aspect we didn't get to with Juan Williams. In his piece, he wrote about the question for black voters continuing to invest in the pursuit of political power when white voters remain defiantly opposed to joining hands across racial lines. White voters resist a coalition even when the alternative is Trump's record of indifference to low-income white people, as well as demeaning non-white people. We spoke a lot about the latter. How about the former, his indifference to low-income white people? I did want to get to this, just at least put it on the record. Selena Zito, writing over at the Washington Examiner, Trump lives up to his promise to East Palestine, Ohio. Residents of East Palestine, Ohio, found out President Trump is giving the village $10 million for Norfolk Southern train derailment that upended the town's way of life 3 years ago. Trump announced the administration would provide the funds through the Economic Development Administration, a part of an effort to continue an aid recovery to an area that, of course, was devastated. That train derailment 3 years ago when 5 tankers released more than 116,000 gallons of toxic chemicals into the soil and water, forcing people to evacuate along the Ohio Pennsylvania state line, and so on and so forth. And the indifference, actually, maybe another lesson for Juan if he wants to play racial politics, is the fault of the previous administration, which fanned the flames when they were playing identitarian politics across racial lines, that if you're not folded into the identitarian agenda, then you will be ignored. So again, a little bit of accusing Trump of the practices of his fellow travelers. But the East Palestine note is important in its own right, in isolation, just the fact that he said he was going to provide relief, and he followed through on that promise. Okay. Which is consistent with just about every policy position that Trump has taken, whether you agree or disagree. You can't feign surprise. He's fairly straightforward about it. Does he change his mind? Yeah. And he's fairly straightforward when he does about that, too. You may not find it persuasive, but it's coming at you from the front. Peter in Highland, Indiana. You're in Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi, Dan. I noticed that Juan conveniently left out something else Johnson said. He talked about him predicting accurately that white voters in the South would not vote for Democrats anymore. But he didn't mention what is a recorded conversation in the White House about what he said with the 1965 legislation and the entitlement acts that started that the N-words will vote Democrat for the next 200 years. And that's a taped conversation he had.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Peter. Yeah, I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I mean, invoking LBJ as some sort of paragon of civil rights, knowing what a virulent racist he is or was, is not particularly persuasive either. I concur. Okay, Team USA. Team USA. I mean, the fact that these guys are getting backlash, I mean, not from, sensible quarters, but remember, I mean, the line of the night, as far as I'm concerned.
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
And half of those crazy people did not stand up when Team USA descended down the steps in the second level there with their gold medals adorning their necks, and were feted by the non-crazy element that was assembled for the President's State of the Union speech. Jack Hughes said something about this, too, when he was questioned by the Daily Mail about going to the White House and the backlash that he's receiving and so forth. And as he has throughout this saga, handled himself quite well.
Are you guys excited to be going to the White House and meeting Trump?
Yeah, we're excited. I mean, anytime, everything is so political. We're athletes. We're so proud to represent the U.S. And when you get the chance to go to the White House, meet the president, we're proud to be Americans, and, that's so patriotic. So no matter what your views are, we're super excited to go to the White House tomorrow and just be a part of that.
How do you feel about the women not going?
They got busy schedules too. I mean, I know we're getting everyone's giving us backlash for all the social media stuff today, but it's so negative. People are so negative out there, and they're trying to find a reason to just put people down and make something out of almost nothing. But our relationship with them over the course of being in the Olympic Village, I think we were so tight with their group and our group after we won the gold medal.
You have to understand, and we talked about this at the end of the show yesterday with Matthew Schmitz from Compact. It's really interesting. You understand, something that Jack Hughes, what he just said, That is countercultural. The cultural mavens, which are dominated by the left because they dominate the cultural and civic institutions in civilian life in this country. They're neo-Marxist revolutionaries. So to say something as simple as loving America and being excited to get a call from the president and being excited to go to the White House and being proud to be recognized by the president during the State of the Union address and feted by most of the members of Congress. Well, yeah, most, because it was all the Republicans and a handful of Democrats. That is countercultural right now, if you understand where American culture is. That should be disquieting to you. And you saw, if you watched the State of the Union address, there was a handful of those neo-Marxists that felt compelled to stand up, for their own political survival, or at least to stay out of the fray, which is the only reason they stood up. I'd rather take heat from Ilhan Omar than from my constituents. Because if you think, the SAVE Act is a 80-20 or 90-10 issue, American hockey team winning the gold medal, that's like a 98-2 issue, I suspect. And Trump also recognizing Connor Hellebuck for his incredible performance, conferring a designation.
Think of it, 46 shots on goal, and I asked him, the one shot, the one where you put your stick in the back and it hit the neck of your stick and bounced off. Do you practice that, or was that a little lucky? He refused to answer that question. But I just want to tell you that the members of this great hockey squad will be very happy to hear, based on their vote and my vote, and in this case my vote was more important, that I will soon be presenting Connor with our highest civilian honor, which we will be given and which has been given to many athletes over the years. But when I say many, not too many, like 12, it's called the highest civilian honor in our country, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Counterculture, common sense counter-revolution. The dominant culture, I mean, at least from the institutional perspective, not the electorate, from the institutional perspective, New York Times, the U.S. men's Olympic hockey team won the gold and then lost the room. In normal times, this would be an obligatory celebration for championship team. They take presidential calls, they party too hard, they visit Washington and stroll through the corridors of power. But this isn't a neutral climate. This isn't a neutral president. Is there such a thing as a neutral president? No, but I digress. And in a nation this polarized, the proximity carries weight whether the players are being intentional or merely naive. America no longer experiences these rituals in the same way, and it may never again. Athletes would be wise to recognize that in this climate, celebration is easily repurposed into political capital. In this climate, it's never going to be the way that it never was. Yes, celebrations are repurposed into political capital, right? That's, but it's political capital that you can't spend for very long. It's not because Trump conferred the Medal of Freedom on Connor Hellebuck. I'm voting Republican in the midterms. That's not going to be a very significant portion of the electorate. As well as, actually, the contrary position, opposing or refusing to celebrate out of some sort of political principle, misguided political principle, makes you exactly the kind of person that normal people don't want to be around. I find soccer detestable, and Megan Rapinoe just, makes it exponentially more. But it doesn't mean I didn't want the American team to win the gold. I can still remember soccer teams that, were laudable and not political, like ones that Mia Hamm captained, and you celebrate America winning. I know that's a controversial statement now because this isn't a neutral time and this isn't a neutral president. So opines the New York Times. There's more of this. Have you seen this? This is all over the place. Huffington Post. You want to talk about somebody who got away with a raid, but Arianna Huffington selling this rag for as much as she did back in the day anyway. There's a name for the discomfort you're feeling watching the Olympics right now. If you're waving the American flag or chanting if waving the American flag or chanting USA turns you off right now, you're not alone. No, because you're a politics-addled, maladjusted, grievance-laden simpleton. Because you're a child, really. The whiplash between pride for the United States competitors and national shame for the federal government is common. So you have people that are conflicted. Can I celebrate the men or women's hockey team winning the gold? I don't know because I disagree with the enforcement of federal immigration law. Really? It's astounding. I mean, how do you you watch Jack Hughes and Owen Hughes and these guys and them just like, as 20-somethings who have achieved what they achieved should do, just having fun and celebrating. Why do you have to force them into a political position? I respect people who don't take that tack. I mean, it's not like Jack and Owen are running around insinuating themselves and talking about 287G programs and whether Maryland County sheriffs should or should not be allowed to ink those deals with ICE for the purposes of public safety, or talking about the provisions of the big beautiful bill. They're just celebrating winning the gold and their love of America and their love of hockey and the brotherhood that comes with sports in general, and particularly sports at that level. What the hell is wrong with these people? Well, Trump said it.
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you. They're crazy.
I mean, every utterance has to be force-fed through that prism of politics. Jack Hughes on his teeth get knocked out.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like definitely crazy for you guys because just different profession, but in hockey, like if you lose your teeth, it's not even a question of like coming back and playing. That's like a automatic. So I just like was feeling around my mouth and I was just disappointed I lost my teeth, but it is what it is now. So mid thing, he's interrupting me, but I don't know. I'm gonna fix these things. I want my good smile back.
Well, some people in America can fix their teeth getting kicked in because Obamacare premiums have spiked under this president, Jack. Don't you know that? I mean, honestly. I mean, is there a more pathetic form of life than somebody trying to jackpot Olympic athletes celebrating the gold and a historic win to boot? I mean, the only thing that may be more pathetic is this piece over at the Free Press by a Canadian named Rupa Subramanya. The good guys don't always win. Okay, you're a homer, fine. But this is some of the lines here. You won a hockey game, dear Southern neighbors, not World War III. I mean, I don't really think Canadians should be lecturing us on world wars and who did and didn't win stuff, but okay. And then this. I mean, this is great. This is just great. The American creed is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which is individualistic based on competition and risk-taking. When Canada loses, Canadians talk about how we played the better game. Americans don't care about the better game. They just care about winning and treat it as proof of superiority. I mean, could you have a bigger inferiority complex, you Canuck? Oh, God. It's just, they're just so tiresome. Who wants to be around these people? Ugh. Jordan and Antioch.
Good morning, Dan. I was telling your screener, and this is one point that I disagree with you on, and I hate to say that I disagree with you on this, but
better not be on soccer.
No, I don't like soccer either. My kid's a baseball player.
Good.
Watching the Olympics, since I've been a kid, it's always USA. We want to win the medal count. We want to win as a national pride. We just want to. I'm sorry, we just want to be better than you. That's the way it is. But watching this Olympics this year is the first time I have actually watched an American athlete and not wanted them to win gold. And it not because of a dislike of America, not because of any of that. It's because I know you're going to use that victory as a platform in the moment to spout all your political, all your social, all that.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna humble yourself in the moment and just take the victory and be proud that you did and be happy that you did. And even after the loss, the figure skater, I have no ill feelings against her because of any of her beliefs. But when I heard what she did and saw what she did when she got there, and then even after the loss, you fell. You had a poor performance. That happens. You're an athlete. Even after the loss, it can't just be that you fell. It has to be because the Olympics and the sport itself is against women because of their menstrual cycle, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it never stops.
I get it. I get it, Jordan. I get the point. I get the point about, I talked about the no-name skiers that you've never heard of and never will again, and the things they said, and having to deal with the insufferable Eileen Gu, as Boomer Esiason termed her, which is accurate. I get it. But we're talking about, but that doesn't, there's going to be those moments, but that doesn't turn me off of the hockey teams, particularly the, Jack Hughes and did I say Owen and Jack and Quinn Hughes and the goalies and just all the guys. I said Owen, not Quinn, because I'm looking at Owen from Willowbrook on the screen. I know it's Quinn Hughes. Sorry, misspoke. It happens. Yeah. So no, I that doesn't turn me off of the Olympics or rooting for America because you have some, some athletes that have been enveloped by the culture. And maybe the counterculture that's being nicely represented by Jack and Quinn and Team USA, maybe that will seep in. I know it will in the hockey world. Soccer, skating, skiing. I don't know. It's a different kettle of fish, I suppose. All right, coming up at 8:08 now, we turn to Bjorn Lundberg, and we'll turn to more heady policy. Energy costs, 8:08. It's now 8 o'clock at AM 560 WIND Chicago.
This is a Fox News alert. He took longer than ever to tell us the State of the Union is strong. I'm Dave Anthony.
We have achieved a transformation like no one has ever seen before, and a turnaround for the ages.
President Trump, in the longest address to Congress ever, an hour 48 minutes, touted a roaring economy, saying he's lowering inflation, solving an affordability crisis he blames on Democrats. The president also called his new tariffs stronger after what he called an unfortunate Supreme Court ruling striking down his earlier ones.
The tariffs paid for by foreign countries will, like in the past, substantially replace the modern-day system of income tax, taking a great financial burden off the people that I love.
While Republicans cheer, Democrats say it's the American people paying those tariffs costs, and they also didn't cheer this.
We now have the strongest and most secure border in American history.
And as the president talked about removing criminals in the U.S. illegally, he also said,
if you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
Again, those are Republicans applauding. Democrats stayed seated, and the president told them they should be ashamed of themselves. Some of them shouted back, saying he should be ashamed. More than 70 Democrats weren't even there, boycotting. Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger delivered the Democratic response.
He lied, he scapegoated, and he distracted. And he offered no real solutions to our nation's pressing challenges.
President Trump also warned Iran he won't let them build nuclear weapons. And he awarded a Purple Heart to a 100-year-old World War II fighter pilot, a Congressional Medal of Honor to a National Guard member shot in Washington in November, and to the family of the other soldier killed that day. And the president also paid tribute to
The men's gold medal Olympic hockey team. Come on in.
that led to a USA, USA chant. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 29 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson was joined by prominent Democratic leaders and celebrities for a rebuttal to the president's State of the Union address last night. In an online event dubbed the State of the Swamp, Johnson described the president's remarks as ramblings and incoherent phrases of nothing. Johnson further claimed the president's take on prosperity in the country did not align with the reality of life for residents here in Chicago.
Instead of addressing the urgent problems of poverty and disinvestment, instead of restoring the funding that he has cut from healthcare and food assistance, instead of doing anything to address the cost of living crisis, the fact that the rent is too high and wages are far too low in this country, this president spoke of an America that does not exist for hundreds of millions of Americans across this country.
Plans to build affordable housing units on vacant land in Humboldt are receiving mixed reaction from local citizens. CBS News Chicago reports the land would be home to a 6-story building, which would house about 50 families. Rents would be subsidized. The proposal also seeks to change the zoning from its current retail designation to mixed usage. The land is currently owned by the Hispanic Housing District, and officials with that housing district say they're listening to the community's input and they hope to break ground next year. And a 33-year-old woman has been charged in the death of an Uber Eats driver on Monday morning. Police say Montoya Perry was taken into custody on Tuesday afternoon. She's accused of carjacking 28-year-old Daniel Figueroa. The man was killed after he was hit by his own vehicle as a suspect fled the scene. Perry is being charged with murder and vehicular hijacking. This news report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes, but time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
More builder professionals are buying from Lowe's. Growth in its pro business helped the home improvement chain to report upbeat sales and earnings for the recent quarter. Lowe's says its home improvement business is being impacted by a stalled housing market, high interest rates, and economic uncertainty. Homeowners are delaying remodeling and repair projects. Electric car maker Lucid is cutting its U.S. workforce by 12%. The cuts do not involve manufacturing, logistics, or quality staff. Lucid continued to lose money in its recent quarter. Diageo, parent company of Guinness, Johnnie Walker, and Smirnoff Vodka, is lowering its forecast on lower sales. It's been seeing weaker demand in the U.S. Stock futures are higher following the State of the Union address. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda. Invested in you.
Alex Marlow sees momentum.
This is a day where we have got, I think, the left and the media on the run completely. The data seem to suggest that America's coming back. We have fewer border crossers than ever. We've got a lower murder rate. We've got a huge projected growth in the economy coming up this year. And we're seeing stuff like a plan to lower prescription drug prices, trying to get California back on track.
The Alex Marlow Show. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
When you can no longer handle your own home, Hearthstone Assisted Living at the Lutheran Home in Arlington Heights is here to help make life easier. Experience upscale living with comprehensive health services. We offer fine dining, engaging activities, available chaplains, weekly worship services, and quality amenities including a bistro, expansive library, and general store. For a limited time, mention WYLL for an additional discount. Call 847-595-5024 or visit LutheranLifeCommunities.org.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlow's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
Let me share Brian's story. He's in Alabama, and he wrote in, he said, Glenn, after taking Relief Factor for just 3 weeks, at least 90% of my pain is gone. My pain had started to limit me at work and at home, and I am amazed at the relief that I have gotten. Those are Brian's own words, and they speak volumes about what Relief Factor can do. And I've seen that kind of transformation in myself, and hearing Brian's experience reinforces why I take endorsing Relief Factor so seriously. Before I started taking Relief Factor myself, I was losing hope that I could ever have a normal life again. My hands were in so much pain. It's created by doctors, 100% drug-free product using 4 key ingredients. It supports the body's natural inflammatory response. Hundreds of thousands of people have ordered Relief Factor, and like Brian and me, over 2/3 of these people go on to order more month after month. So don't wait. If you're dealing with pain, launch your 3-week quick start and see what Relief Factor can do for you. Call 800-4RELIEF or go to relieffactor.com. Don't wait anymore. Feel what it's like to be out of pain. 1-800-4-RELIEF.
The following is a paid political announcement.
There's one thing I really want to say to Donald Trump. If you come for my people, you come through me.
That was Pritzker's challenge to President Trump. But who are Pritzker's people? They're the more than 1,700 illegal alien predators he helped escape from ICE. They're the illegal aliens whose health care, rent, and college tuition you pay for. You can't afford to stay because Pritzker makes you pay for his people. Well, I have a message for you, Governor. I'll be coming for you and going through you. Your days and the days of sanctuary living for your people are over. I'm Ted Dabrowski, your conservative candidate for governor, and I'm asking for your vote in the Republican primary on March 17th. Paid for by Ted for Illinois.
If you or someone you love are getting high quotes for dental implants, visit almostfreeteeth.com today. With a medical PPO insurance plan, it's possible to save 90% off on average to be able to smile again. Check if you qualify now at almostfreeteeth.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hackberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. 16 in, 23 out on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose, 44 inbound on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange, 42 outbound. We are stop and go inbound on the express lanes between Montrose and Ohio Street, and jam-packed inbound on the Eisenhower at Gulf Road, all because of an accident on the shoulder. Outbound, another crash at Harlem Avenue slows you down. 41 minutes inbound, 28 out on the Ike from Wolf to the old post office. What a big mess on the Stevenson inbound. An accident cleared at Western Avenue but left us with 57 minutes from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound is 33. 33 also inbound on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 12. Stop and go delays on Lakeshore Drive northbound between Foster Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. News and Traffic is a service of American Beam and Steel Structural Repair Licensed Contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark. American Beam and Steel. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mostly sunny with breezy conditions in the afternoon, reaching a high of 37. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 23. Tomorrow will bring intervals of clouds and sunshine with a high of 44. Looking ahead to Friday, anticipate partly sunny skies and breezy conditions with a high of 60. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Destination Retirement with Robert Kuhn. Tune in Sunday mornings from 11 to 12 for Destination Retirement with Robert Kuhn, sponsored by Kuhn Capital Partners in Oak Brook.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I've been meaning to get to this story for a while, but other events intercede. You want to talk about a great case study that everything the identitarian left touches, it literally turns into sewage? The ecological disaster in the Potomac. 240 million gallons of sewage spilled into that river. President Trump has declared it a emergency. Now, of course, the same identitarian left is currently holding FEMA funding hostage over Trump's enforcement of federal immigration law. The layers of this. And as we look into the executives in charge of the DC water infrastructure. What do we find? What do you think we find? A repeat of what we saw with respect to the executives in the greater Los Angeles area, Pacific Palisades to be more specific, both in the fire department as well as in water management. What's the emphasis? Well, I mean, don't let me put it in my words. Let's hear from DC Water Manager David Gaddis.
You know, when I arrived at DC Water, this was an organization that looked very similar to our industry. It was predominantly, white male at the top, but this is a utility that's, more than 70% people of color work at this utility. And I really believe, and I still believe, and it has been fantastic. The outcomes have been fantastic, but the people at the top, the executives, the chiefs in that C-suite, they should look like the employees that they serve and that they work with, and the same thing with the community. And so my executive team, looks exactly like the community. It looks like the employees, the staff, be it people of color, women, men. And it's just a fantastic team that has come together to do a lot of great things here at DC Water and in the community for the customers.
Would you like to revise and extend your remarks, Mr. Gaddis? Morris Hughes is the chair of DC Water. Again, we're talking about the worst sewage spill in American history, just by the way.
Now, and this is the chain breaking, institutional barrier disruption work that I'm doing. Now I'm on a mission to make sure Black and brown kids have experience in the workplace. So then when they're competing in the market,
that's one less check.
That's one less check. And the playing field is leveled because now they got the internship, the same one for the parent who knew the president of the corporation. Now the playing field is level, but that
Yeah, I'm happy to report that the DC Water staff is 82% BIPOC. I'm saddened to report that they presided over the worst sewage spill in a waterway in American history. And the point is not the distribution of race or ethnicity, of course. The point is that I don't care. I don't care if it's 100% black or 100% white. What I do care about is it's people that know what they're doing. Pretty straightforward. For more on this and other matters of environmental policy and common sense, Bjorn Lomborg joins us, president of the Copenhagen Consensus think tank, author of Best Things First. Bjorn, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan. Good to be back.
So, we talk about the disposition of these individuals that are in charge of making environmental policy, managing important public infrastructure. And, the people that engage in the fear-mongering over, say, climate change, and the people that are obsessed with, counting by race and other non-behavioral characteristics, the Venn diagram of those two groups is a perfect circle.
I can certainly imagine that. It's not my main expertise, but surely what we've seen is that there's a lot of people, especially in the climate community, but also in general in the environmental movement, who are very well-intentioned, but very often feel the need to say, no, it should be particular targets we should reach, rather than talk about what can you actually do that costs little and do a lot before you do something that costs a lot and does a little. And unfortunately, we often end up with really poor, ineffective climate and environmental policies because we don't think, just like any other part of the society needs to do, we have limited resources. We need to do the best we can.
Yeah, I think, to borrow from a quote attributed to Samuel Johnson, the road to a 240 million gallon sewage spill is paved with good intentions.
Yes. And again, I'm sorry. I live in Europe.
I get it.
Sewage spill. But there's a lot of things that we have done in the past. And again, if you look at climate, which has now cost the world more than $16 trillion in actual cost, forgetting all the sort of secondary effects that are probably much larger in lost growth opportunity, $16 trillion. And yet, last year, the world still had the largest emissions of fossil fuel CO2 because we're focusing on the wrong things. We're focusing very much on rich people cutting a little bit of their emissions, which, of course, makes people feel good. But this is not what counts. What counts is that we eventually can convince China, India, Africa, Latin America, Indonesia, all these countries that are going to be emitting most of the CO2 in the 21st century and who obviously are more concerned about lifting their populations out of poverty. So again, focus on the stuff that actually works. This is about finding innovations that will make green energy so cheap everyone will switch. That could be fourth generation nuclear. But the whole point is focus on those innovations rather than just making life miserable for rich people to feel good about yourself.
You noticed something at the recently concluded Davos confab that the EU Commission president did not talk climate change at all. Does that mean that the EU is ceasing to tilt at windmills, quite literally, or is it just she is subordinating that to more pressing issues given the sort of power structure in the West at present?
We would love that the EU was getting more realistic. They're getting a little more realistic, but I think it's much more a signpost of the way the wind is blowing. Remember, for 20 years, most of the rich world and the U.S., certainly under Democratic presidents, were basically saying climate change is the big problem that remains to the world. And now we've realized, oh, wait, there's a lot of other problems that need addressing. The affordability crisis, pension reform in many countries, war. We have the biggest land war in Europe, many other issues that are more pressing and that people more care about. And so, again, we're now getting people back to saying, oh, wait, there are actually real problems that we need to fix now, instead of focusing on doing a little bit on 100 years with climate change. And that's why Ursula von der Leyen, the EU commissioner, did not mention, for the first time, climate at all, because they're more important issues. What that tells you is, yes, focus on affordability. Focus on actually getting returns for your investments. Unfortunately, I still think that the EU will go ahead and it's said as much, and it'll do a lot of stupid things, but probably slightly fewer stupid things. So I guess that is a win of sorts.
Well, so that's what I was going to say. Is there any substantive shift in energy policy? I know out of necessity, Germany has made some modifications to its green energy delusions, but I'm wondering what, if anything, on a policy front is happening that shows so cognition.
There's more openness to nuclear power, which is great. It's stupid to cut back nuclear power plants you've already paid for and are essentially emitting no CO2 and delivering lots of CO2-free electricity at very, very low cost. That has just been stupid. Of course, Germany was leading that charge, but the U.S. and in New York and California has also been, canceling or talking about canceling these nuclear power plants. The idea of phasing out fossil fuel cars by 2035, which was previously a very strong part of the pillar of EU policy, is now gone. It's unclear exactly what it's going to be replaced with, but fundamentally, when a lot of people are still saying, I want a fossil fuel car, it's really hard for politicians to say you can't have one. And then in the longer run, there's a wonderful phrase that was incorporated. They talk about how they're going to do climate policy and they're going to do things that are going to be incredibly costly. But now they've put in, if it turns out that it harms economic growth, we're going to revisit that. So very clearly, the EU leaders are going to revisit that. And that may turn out to be more sensible policies in the future. But yes, it still runs much of the continent. Although remember, EU citizens are much, much less concerned. Back in the spring of 2019, just before the COVID crisis, a third of all EU citizens put climate change as one of the two top priorities. Today, that number is down to 9%, less than 1 in 10. So we've at least moved towards less panic.
Oh, that's okay. That's encouraging. I wanted to get your reaction to something that President Trump announced yesterday in his State of the Union address. He called it a ratepayer protection pledge because there's been an increase in electricity rates in America, more pronounced in some states like New Jersey than others, but still, and under the whole affordability construct, which I know is something that's particularly important to you, especially in the developing world. But the ratepayer protection pledge, he's executing with major tech companies, he said, requiring them to provide for their own power needs by building their own power plants and grids, essentially allowing private companies to do what government has done for decades. What do you think about that?
Well, look, it can be a good idea. A lot of people are very focused on how AI is going to use more electricity, and that is absolutely true. But it's not by any means the greatest part of what's going to increase electricity consumption around the world. It is probably bigger in the U.S., and so in that sense, it's a good idea to make them pay for their own electricity. And of course, when they have to pay for their own electricity, especially if they want power 24/7, they're going to go for nuclear or they're going to go for a lot of fossil fuels. And that sort of shows you what the rest of society should do. Look, solar power in California and 10-20% is great because it covers when you have air conditioning. But if you try to go all solar power, you get what Spain had, and you put your whole grid at risk. And there's a good chance that you're going to get a blackout sooner or later. So what you really need to do is to focus on affordability, and that is very much about having one system, not trying to duplicate it so you both have a renewable system and a fossil fuel-driven backup system, which of course makes your electricity much more expensive.
You penned an interesting piece in The Hill recently about foreign aid, after all the tumult and hand-wringing over USAID back in the Doge days last year. Yeah. In point of fact, America is still generous with respect to aid in the developing world, and the developing world is needing to learn to do more with less, and that's happening, you say.
Yes. So, fundamentally, I'm glad you saw that. It's fundamentally, people have this idea that the U.S. was spending enormous amounts. Typically, when you survey people, they think foreign aid is a quarter of the U.S. budget. It's nowhere anywhere near that. It's about 1%. Right. So, it's not a big amount. And look, you are the richest country in the world. You have demonstrated how good a society can be. I think most people really honestly believe that the U.S. also should give some of this back. But of course, you should do it well. And what we saw was there was a lot of silly programs at USAID. So it's a good thing that we got that cleaned up. But now we're also back to realizing that there are also a lot of really, really good things you can do. Take, for instance, vaccinations. A lot of children still need very basic childhood immunization against measles, against rotavirus, which kills 500,000 kids every year. There are so many things for very little money where you can do a lot of good. And that is what is now possible because of the new budget, which seems to indicate that that the U.S. is going to give almost as much as what it used to do, not quite as much, but almost as much. And now the real hard point is do all of these things incredibly effectively. So, do the immunization, focus on tuberculosis and malaria, which we know how to fix very cheaply. You can make the world much better. You can make many more people love America and say, we're really thankful, but also make a more stable and safe world. Focus on education. We still have a world where about 1/3 of 1 billion kids are essentially, they're in school, but they're not really learning anything. We know how to do that by making a structured teacher plan, so make the teachers better at teaching, and put the kids in front of a tablet with educational software 1 hour a day. These are very cheap things. It'll cost about $19 per kid per year, and they will teach these kids 2 to 3 times as effectively as what's happening right now. This is a way you can make the whole world much richer, and of course also make countries that will want to trade and that will want to be part of your security alliances. So again, very cheap. So we're talking about in total order of 1% of the U.S. budget. If you spend it well, you can do an amazing amount of good. So that's where we need to go back. Do this well. And of course, that's exactly, I hope, what Rubio is focused on in doing the development spending through the State Department.
Right. And the important piece here, too, on the execution side is do it well. And that means doing it directly, not through, say, the WHO, which we pulled out of. Do it through vetted and proven partners, whether they're government or quasi-government agencies or NGOs that are affiliated with, the Western world. I mean, you got to make sure that you have people that can, essentially activate these resources to the desired ends, and that quality control was also something that was missing at USAID. We found.
I think you're absolutely right, but I think it's even more important that we focus on the things where you can do a lot of good rather than where you can do a little good, right? So remember, water and sanitation, really hard to do. You can still do some good, but it's just not the first place where you're going to spend money. Do it on education and tuberculosis. These things deliver enormous returns. We estimate, in the order of $50 back in every dollar. So you'll do $50 of good instead of for water and sanitation, $3 to $6. You can literally do 10 times as much good. So yes, it's absolutely important which organizations you work with, but it's much more important that you focus on what topics are you going to deal with, what topics are you going to solve first. And that, of course, also goes back to what we just talked about with climate. Yes, climate is also a problem, but it's just not the first problem for most people whose kids might die tonight or from easily curable infectious diseases or don't have enough food or have a terrible education. Those problems you can solve much cheaper, much more effectively, and make every dollar do a lot more good first.
Bjorn Lomborg is the president of the Copenhagen Consensus think tank, author of Best Things First. Bjorn, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Great to talk to you, Dan.
You too. And Bjorn Lomborg joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
When someone you love is living with memory loss, finding the right care isn't just important, it's everything. At Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace, memory care isn't an add-on, it's all we do.
When Mom moved into Terra Vista, everything changed. She's safe, engaged, and surrounded by people who truly understand dementia. And I finally get to just be her daughter again.
Terra Vista was built specifically for caring for those with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia, with secure indoor and outdoor spaces, innovative therapies, and a community that feels like home. Residents stay active, connected, and respected every single day.
And the best part? Mom can live with dignity, and I have peace of mind.
If memory care is in your future, choose the community designed for it. Choose Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace. Schedule a tour today at terravista.org. Again, that's terravista.org, and tell them AM 560 sent you. Terra Vista, where memory care lives.
The following is a paid political announcement.
There's one thing I really want to say to Donald Trump. If you come for my people, you come through me.
That was Pritzker's challenge to President Trump. But who are Pritzker's people? They're the more than 1,700 illegal alien predators he helped escape from ICE. They're the illegal aliens whose health care, rent, and college tuition you pay for. You can't afford to stay because Pritzker makes you pay for his people. Well, I have a message for you, Governor. I'll be coming for you and going through you. Your days and the days of sanctuary living for your people are over. I'm Ted Dabrowski, your conservative candidate for governor, and I'm asking for your vote in the Republican primary on March 17th. Paid for by Ted for Illinois.
Business owners, now's the time for your business to make the move to a locally owned business bank. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that you don't have to look far. Signature Bank was founded in Chicago with a simple mission to help companies like yours grow, succeed, and thrive. Their decisions are made locally by a terrific team that knows your name, cares about your business, and invests in your success. That's why Signature Bank is my bank. I'm a customer. As business owners, they knew that local family-owned businesses were not getting the help they needed or deserved. So I invite you to reach out to my friends at Signature Bank today. Write the number down. Remember this phone number, Signature Bank, 773-467-5630, and learn all about this great bank, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 8:38, we haven't addressed what Trump had to say about Iran and what may be in the offing. We'll do that with Cliff May, the president of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, at 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 30 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. 2 daycare workers and Des Plaines have been arrested on child abuse charges. Police say 36-year-old Jessica Murillo and 23-year-old Isabella Thompson have been charged following an investigation which showed the pair harming 7 boys between the ages of 4 and 5 years old. Police say none of the boys were seriously injured. Police say video evidence taken from a Mother's Touch daycare shows the pair engaging in that abusive behavior. Police say officials with the daycare are cooperating with the investigation. And County Treasurer Maria Pappas is being accused of berating staffers by the tech company employed to work on the county's tax system. Accusations made by Tyler Technologies include berating staffers, issuing racial slurs, and bullying. The company has issued a 9-page letter outlining the behavior of Pappas and stresses that they will not work directly under Pappas. Officials with Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle's office say the allegations will be forwarded to the Department of Ethics and Human Rights for review. News is a service of Woodland Windows and Doors. Marvin Replacement Windows and Doors can bring your backyard right into your living space, making it seem brighter and more spacious. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your consultation. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Hugh Hewitt isn't sure the president has a choice.
Because I don't think the Iranians will capitulate. I mean, they could run. They could give up the missiles. I don't believe President Trump is going to get taken by these people. I think they flooded the zone, they being the Pentagon, with all the weapons of war to absolutely crush the regime. I don't think the president has a choice.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Alex Marlowe at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Stay together, please.
Who are these people?
This is my tour group.
Why are you giving tours?
Because the Whitley dining table at Penny Mustard reminds me of something you'd see in a museum.
It's stunning.
Exactly. So I put some velvet ropes around it and started giving tours to see it. Okay, folks, let's keep it moving.
The Whitley dining table, American-made and tariff-free, starting at $30.97, and paired with Carry chairs, starting at $7.42 each. Only at Penny Mustard.
6 Chicagoland showrooms.
PennyMustard.com.
Well, the experts did their best with this season's flu vaccine, but the virus mutated and the vaccine could not keep up. But here is the truth. The most powerful defense against viruses isn't something man-made. It is the God-given immune system that you were born with. And the best immune system booster that I, Scott Jennings, know of is Virago. Virago. It is a liquid immune enhancement supplement featuring 23 potent nutraceuticals working synergistically to enhance your immune system against assaults. Trust the design that God gave you and strengthen your body's immune system with Virago, the ultimate immune enhancement cocktail. Order it online today. Visit myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code Jennings to save 30%. Myvirago.com. Coupon code Jennings saves you 30%.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know.
At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com. And schedule your free in-home consultation today.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hackberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. 14 in, 24 out on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose. The Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange is 42 minutes. Outbound is 40. The Eisenhower 45 inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 26. Slow on the Stevenson inbound from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore, 46 minutes. 36 on the reverse side. Stop and go on the Dan Ryan with a broken down truck on the right shoulder at 35th Street. So 35 minutes inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 12. The express lanes hitting those brakes from Garfield Boulevard to the Stevenson, and northbound Lakeshore Drive is jammed from Foster Avenue to Hollywood Avenue. This report is a service of Discover. Guess what? Discover's accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. You heard right, 99%. If you don't think so, maybe it's time to face facts. You're stuck in the past. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report, learn more at discover.com/credit card. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mostly sunny with breezy conditions in the afternoon, reaching a high of 37. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a low of 23. Tomorrow will bring intervals of clouds and sunshine with a high of 44. Looking ahead to Friday, anticipate partly sunny skies and breezy conditions with a high of 60. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
When did we add Edie Bertel to our bumper music? All right, we're going to have to talk about that. So Trump's State of the Union address yesterday seems to be a bit of an impasse because the Iranian foreign minister this week said the Iranian military choices are non-negotiable, including the alleged nuclear program they still have. And yet President Trump reiterated last night in his address to Congress and the nation that no Iranian nuclear program. We're not going to allow them to pursue nuclear weapons. So seems to be a bit of an impasse.
We are in negotiations with them. They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon. My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen. And no nation should ever doubt America's resolve. We have the most powerful military on earth. I rebuilt the military in my first term. We're going to continue to do so. Also, we just approved a $1 trillion budget. We have no choice. We have to be strong because hopefully we will seldom have to use this great power that we built together. It's really called peace through strength, and it's been very, very effective.
Yeah, I've heard that. For more on the topic, pleased to be joined by Cliff May, president of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies and foreign affairs columnist for the Washington Times. Cliff, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good to be with you, Dan. Yeah.
So, it's just a restatement of a time-honored position, at least by people who believe in peace through strength, whether it's Reagan or Trump. But considering the buildup in the region and the 15-day clock that he put Iran on this week, which may be more like a 7-day clock, where do you think this is going?
He wants to make very clear that he is exhausting all possibilities for a peaceful or a diplomatic settlement of this issue. Very clear. I think he's done a good job on that. But if and when it becomes obvious that the regime in Tehran is not going to make the necessary concessions, then I think he will use some of the military assets he has in place. And one way he might do that is he might pick a few useful targets, take them out, and then pause and say, are you really sure that we can't come to a deal? And by the way, in this case, I would say deal is a euphemism for you will agree to my demands. That's what we'll do nice things for you if you do, but you have to agree to my demands, and we can go over what those demands are. But obviously, the most important is you're never going to have a nuclear weapon. You've been vowing death to America since 1979. Nuclear weapons and ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, to deliver them anywhere in the world. You're not going to have that. We're just not going to let you do it.
So let me put the same question to you that I put to Stephen Bucci the other day. So are we looking at the Trump administration potentially playing whack-a-mole, or are we looking at regime change efforts?
I'm not sure we know entirely for sure. And this is a caution I'm sure that President Trump is aware of. There's no way to bomb into necessary regime change. Now, what you can do is you can take out all the leadership. He would like to see regime change. The people of Iran would like to see regime change. I think at least 80% of them would. The people who are dying in the streets in the tens of thousands because they're protesting this tyrannical Islamist regime. But it's very hard to do. And to be fair and honest about it, the opposition is not terribly well organized, but it's very hard for an opposition to get well organized in a truly despotic country because Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, he's been the supreme leader, as he likes to call himself, the dictator, since 1989. If he sees anybody raising their head who is part of the opposition or could be part of the opposition, he will kill them or he will imprison them. So it's very hard to do. So what you can obviously do is say this is a revolutionary Islamic regime with ambitions that are inimical to American national interest. We will therefore enfeeble it. It will have no power. It will not have launchers. It will not have missiles. It will not have a navy. It will not have anything resembling an air force. It doesn't really have too much of that now. It will not be able to have any. You take away its offensive capabilities, but also I would say its defensive capabilities. It has no need for defense if it is not threatening its neighbors. It has no neighbors who say, oh, we want to take over Iran or we want to take this province or this territory from Iran. It has its enemies are the enemies it swears it wants to exterminate.
And the reporting on this in terms of the allies and American antagonists, the primary American antagonists that would be allied with Iran as a strategic ally for the purposes of disrupting the United States. Russia and China reportedly don't seem to be interested in providing much support for the regime at this point. And so if that's true, what does that say about their perspective on that regime and its viability?
Well, I would say it's more a matter of limitations. Both Vladimir Putin in Moscow and Xi Jinping in Beijing do want to help Iran, and they don't want to see Iran enfeebled. Vladimir Putin doesn't have a lot of extra assets that he can contribute. He'll do what he can in terms of technology. There are other things he may give, but he's not going to send his forces against the United States over this.
Right.
Neither is Xi Jinping. They will and have been sending from China help in the sense that they are sending the equipment, the technology, various precursors that are necessary to rebuild the missile capabilities that were taken out during the 12-day war, and they'll provide other things in terms of nuclear weapons. But China is not going to send its Navy over there to take on the U.S. Navy. There are limits to it's a real relationship. And FDD is going to have been working on like a 200-page book on the relation, on what we call the axis of aggressors, and how they support each other militarily, economically, diplomatically, all kinds of ways. We're talking again about Moscow, Beijing, Tehran, and Pyongyang, North Korea. But they're not. But there are still limits to. It's not a no limits relationship in that sense. They're sad to see Tehran weakened, but if that's the way it is, they'll do what they can. But they can't do as much as perhaps Ayatollah Khamenei would like to see.
And maybe there's some question about exactly the state of our weaponry. Christian Brose, I know despite what Trump said about rebuilding the military in his first term, Christian Brose, who's an executive at Anduril Industries, which is a defense contractor.
Yeah, very good, yeah.
He writes in the Wall Street Journal, we need new and different weapons that are simpler, faster, and cheaper to produce. They should be designed to be made in great numbers and by the largest possible workforce using commercial manufacturing practices and supply chains. Our weapons have become overly complex, seeking to meet every requirement within a single munition, which leads to weapons that are effectively unproductive, unproducible, and irreplaceable. We need a high-low mix, smaller numbers of exquisite, expensive weapons for our smaller numbers of high-end threats, alongside a more affordable, more producible class of weapons for our larger numbers of low-end threats. And he goes through some examples, including with the Patriot missile. But the bottom line is, we had some discussion about this when the focus was on what we're doing or not doing in terms of shipping weapons to Ukraine. So now the larger discussion, as we're opening up more potential theaters of conflict, as well as trying to ride herd over areas that are in the, if not in détente, they were moving in that direction, but there's adult supervision needed, like the entire Middle East. So what about the state of our weaponry, in the armed services writ large? Does this defense contractor have a point?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a very special defense contractor. These are very creative people. They're looking to the future. In a lot of ways, we have a 20th century military. It's the most powerful in the world. It's easily able to take care of a regime such as the one in Iran. But what he is saying is we have to think differently, and it's not all a matter of big platforms, battleships. Look, what Ukraine war is certainly an example of that. Some of the most effective weapons are drones. We haven't been making drones, and the drones are evolving at a very rapid pace. In other words, the Ukrainians and the Russians are learning in combat. There is no substitute for learning in combat. One of the things Israel has done for us for years is take our weapons and utilize them in combat. This goes back, to the 1967 war. Use American planes against Russian planes to see which work better. How do you know until you have them in combat? You can model, you can have computers try to figure it out, but you got to do it in combat to really know. The Israelis took our F-35s, brilliant, wonderful, amazing plane, but they modified them for other uses. Very useful for us to see that. So, Andrew, I'm a big fan of Palmer Luckey, who is this brilliant guy who runs it, and he has all kinds of brilliant people working for him there. People like former Congressman Mike Gallagher. They're thinking creatively. They're saying we have to fight the next war, not the last war. That's very smart.
It's interesting you bring up learning from war. Who was I talking to the other week? I think it may have been Peter Schweitzer. And he was I think it was him, but he was talking about how the Mexican drug cartels sent sicarios to fight in Ukraine to essentially learn how to use the technology that the current technology that's using, including drone technology. I mean, just thinking about these sort of borderless criminal and terrorist organizations like the cartels, and what they're doing with their vast resources, as we saw again on display this week in Mexico.
Yeah, Peter's also brilliant, and he's absolutely right. And let me give you another example of this. We have North Korean soldiers as part of this axis of aggressors being utilized by Putin against Ukraine. A lot of them are getting killed. The ones who aren't getting killed are getting valuable combat experience, and then they go back home, where they look towards South Korea, where they look towards Japan, where they look towards Guam, an American possession. And we also believe that Putin, in exchange for the soldiers he's getting from North Korea and the munitions, 155 millimeter artillery in particular, but lots of other munitions, he is giving them all kinds of useful technology. At some point, Kim Jong-un, he's a dynastic dictator, the third in his family. What are his ambitions? I think he would say, I want to unite the Korean Peninsula, which means I want to wipe out South Korea. That's problematic. We have 28,000 soldiers there. We've had them there since 1953. We've had the troops there. That's because we didn't defeat North Korea. We settled for a cessation of hostilities, a truce, an armistice. And when you do that, you don't shorten wars, you prolong wars. And so that's an important lesson to learn. If you want shorter wars, you need to defeat your enemy and do it conclusively. And it's part of the problem, getting back to Iran. We have a tendency to think, can't we just, they want the A and
Contain
we want
them.
C.
Yeah.
Yeah, contain them and let's settle on B. If you do that, they think, okay, you don't really want to win and we haven't really lost, so we will continue to fight. And that's part of the problem. Right now, the deal that Trump is offering the Iranians, they should take. But they're a revolutionary regime. They don't want to bow to the leading infidel of the great Satan.
Cliff May, president of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies and foreign affairs columnist for the Washington Times. Cliff, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. My pleasure.
And Cliff May joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
It's time for Common Sense, America First leadership in Washington. Hi, I'm Nikki Conforti, and I'm ready to fight for the 6th Congressional District and put working families first. Congressional District 6 needs strength and experience. Congress is no place for on-the-job training. Vote for the leadership our community deserves. Be sure to get out and vote for Nikki Conforti for U.S. Congressional District 6 on March 17th. I'm Nikki Conforti, and I approve this message.
Raise your hand if chronic pain is making you feel old, older than you actually are. Ongoing pain can really turn your golden years upside down. But here's the good news. QC Kinetics patients right here in Chicagoland are getting relief. And it didn't happen in an operating room. Dr. Caravelli and QC Kinetics medical professionals use the latest regenerative treatments backed by real science, treatments that take the tiny, powerful healing tools inside your body and concentrate them right where you need relief. That's how Mike is training for a marathon, Patrick's golf game is on fire again, and Andrea's back in her garden. These are real QC Kinetics patients. The sooner you start, the sooner inflammation and pain eases, and the sooner joint damage slows down. So don't wait. Find out if you're a candidate for QC Kinetics regenerative treatments and tell them I sent you when you do. Your visit and consultation free. Call now, 312-827-6261. Again, 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
She's unafraid and unapologetic. She's Laura Trump, and she's shaking things up on the Right View podcast.
We're the side with the mean stuff? Are you guys kidding? You call us Nazis. You call us fascists. You call Donald Trump Hitler from the left. Really? We're the side that's the problem. You're out assaulting ICE agents every chance you possibly get.
Subscribe to the Right View podcast with Laura Trump on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Hey, it's Mike Gallagher, hoping you'll join me on the unforgettable Gulf of America cruise happening in November of 2026. Imagine this: turquoise waters, white sand beaches, incredible food, insightful conversations about the future of America. Scott Jennings and I will be your hosts. We'll dive into the issues shaping America as we cruise through some of the most stunning destinations while honoring the 250th anniversary of our nation. Book your cabin today. Text the word cruise to 94878. Text cruise to 94878 or visit MikeOnline.com.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, E-T-H-O-S, ethos.com/Mike.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Hello?
Sir, this is Officer Peterson. There's been a string of break-ins in the area, and your office, it was hit.
Hit? What do you mean? We were robbed?
Looks like the back door lock was easily pried open, and they moved through the building like they knew exactly what to take. We see wires everywhere. No computers.
What? No computers? I just upgraded everything.
Looks like they moved fast. We only found out because a neighboring business had their alarm go off. Do you have any security cameras?
No, nothing.
Don't wait until it's too late. Goldilocks protects Chicagoland businesses with custom security solutions. From reinforced commercial doors with keyless entry to cameras and 24/7 monitoring that alerts authorities immediately. Schedule a free on-site assessment at GoldilocksInc.com. Again, that's GoldilocksInc.com. Plus, AM 560 listeners get their first 3 months of monitoring free with a new install. Call 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Goldilocks, Chicago's premier locksmith doors and security systems company since 1981.
AM 560, The Answer.
Number of inspiring people as special guests of the president last night. None more so than 100-year-old Navy pilot Royce Williams. 220 missions in Korea and Vietnam. And he was conferred the Medal of Honor during the State of the Union's address last night.
Tonight we've celebrated many truly extraordinary American patriots, but there is one last living legend to honor before we go. He is one more heroic American aviator. Navy fighter pilot Royce Williams served in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, flying more than 220 missions. In the skies over Korea in 1952, Royce was in the dogfight of a lifetime, legendary dogfight. Flying through blizzard conditions, his squadron was ambushed by 7 Soviet fighter planes. It was his first aerial combat of the war, and despite being massively outnumbered and outgunned, Royce led the takedown of 4 enemy jets and almost destroyed the others, vanquishing his adversaries while taking 263 bullets to his own plane and being seriously hurt. His story was, and he was
so long overdue, and Melania, the First Lady, had the honor of conferring the Medal of Honor. It is now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Iran responds.